This guy looks like just another poor nobody lost in the crowd. And nobody here knows he's secretly the strongest being on Earth, with a perfect body and an aura so powerful that it makes his opponents kneel in an instant. Years ago, Ye Chen's entire family was slaughtered by a mysterious man. He was the only one who survived, thanks to an old master who took him in. The old master brutally trained Ye Chen until he reached the absolute peak of martial arts, and even established a connection with the spirit world, giving him the ability to sense when a disaster is about to happen. Now he's finally returned to the city where his nightmare began. He's here to get his revenge and complete the final task his master gave him. While walking through the crowd, Ye Chen suddenly spots a girl surrounded by a dark aura. He immediately warns her to be careful because something terrible could happen to her. But this girl isn't exactly grateful. She rolls her eyes and calls it a pathetic pickup attempt, saying she'll never date someone spouting useless nonsense like that. Her attitude pisses Ye Chen off, and his overwhelming aura immediately erupts. The pressure is so terrifying that people nearby start collapsing. Realizing he's causing too much trouble, Ye Chen quickly jumps onto the nearest building to hide his aura. Then he decides to complete his master's final task. 3 days ago, his master sensed that his granddaughter, Xia Ruoxu, would suffer a deadly catastrophe sometime within the next 100 days. So he gave Ye Chen the task of protecting her. A moment later, Ye Chen arrives at the Huamei Group, one of the top 500 companies in China, right here in Jiangcheng. When he walks up to the front gate of the Huamei Group building, he is stopped by 2 guards, who ask him what business he has there with Mrs. Xia. Since he doesn't have a reason to tell them, he simply asks them to let him in, claiming he has something important to talk to the boss in person. With security persisting, he tells them that if he can't meet her, he will wait inside on the couch, but they stop him immediately, saying he looks poor and is not someone who their boss should meet. This annoys him so much that his sheer aura crushes them, making them fall on their knees. He then proceeds to head inside the building, with them wondering what just happened. He takes a seat on a couch and demands that they call their manager here. Ye Chen is confronted by the head of the security department, who softly reminds him that he needs to think about the consequences of causing a disturbance before wreaking havoc here. Looking to settle the matter expeditiously, he demands that they not interfere with him, as he is looking to meet Xia Ruoxue. The head of the security department is intimidated by his deathly stare. It makes him feel that if he messes with him again, he will kill them all like ants. He informs Chen apologetically that the boss is not here today and asks him to leave his contact information if he likes. Just as he starts to think that he's outsmarted him with that lie, Ye Chen says that he doesn't have anything to do anyway, so he will sit here and wait for her. He tells them not to worry about him and that they should continue with their work. But the head of the security department can't put his job at risk and let someone so dangerous roam around here. Right as they are about to tell him that this is not appropriate and that he should leave, a woman named Sun Yi, the director of this place, steps in, saying that she will take care of it. The people around her gossip that the CEO, Xia Ruoxue, is on par with her in terms of appearance. The head of the security department warns her that it's dangerous here, but she dismisses his concerns and proceeds to introduce herself to Ye Chen. He seems to be acquainted with this lady, and in these 5 years, if there are people he cannot let go of, one of them is Sun Yi. When he was a junior high school student, he sat at the same table with her for a year, and they had a very good relationship. Later, during their senior high school years, due to the difference in status, they seldom interacted with each other again. Until after the Yunhu Villa incident, when he was saved from the lake by his master and went to the Ye family. At that time, the Ye family compound had been seized, and all the big families in Jiangcheng announced that they were no longer associated with them. The Tianjin group, which had been founded by his father, was also appropriated. Almost everyone was under the shadow of that man from the capital. But Sun Yi, despite her family's opposition, endured the rumors and fears, went to the morgue to retrieve his parents' bodies, and brought them to the crematorium herself. Afterwards, she even erected a tombstone for his family, all 3 of them, on the mountain of heaven's intestines. Until now, he has not understood how he can ever repay the dedication of a woman like her, and he definitely did not expect to meet her here again today. Lost in thought, he is reminded by her that he's standing too close, and she asks if he has some business with her. He apologizes to her, saying that she looks a bit like an old friend of his, and that he was lost in thought because of that. She turns to the staff working there and commands them that if he wants to wait here, they should let him be. However, she asks him not to make a fuss and leaves just like that. Meanwhile, he is in awe of her beauty and how much she has grown physically. Abruptly, he thinks about putting his business with CEO Xia Ruoxu aside and goes after Sun Yi. He sneaks into her car as she's about to leave, which startles her upon spotting him. She questions what he wants, and he, with a smile, asks for a lift. She reminds him that he was waiting for someone, but he says that side doesn't matter anymore. She asks him about his name, saying she can't let someone she doesn't know the name of in her car. He notices the darkness of the seal on her forehead, and even a hint of blood is a sign of something serious. At that moment, he thinks of making sure not to let her get hurt. As for now, he introduces himself as Ye Makoto. Later, Chen and Yi arrive at the Longhu Hotel, with the gazes of people piercing through them. However, everyone seems a little perplexed at her bringing a man. It is her first time, and not to mention, his outfit seems pretty shabby compared to hers. They decide to take a seat, only for Yi to be surrounded by a bunch of wealthy men, everyone inviting her to drink. The intruder who barged into her company finally steps in to save her. He snatches the drink from one of them, and just as he tells them that he's going to give them the company, she stops him, saying that that is not the nice way to block the drinks. She informs those perverts that she's not good at drinking and can only have a sip, so she doesn't want to be bullied for it. To ruin the party and her hopes of escaping this situation quickly, a man named Chen Feng arrives and remarks that she's being a bit too much. This man is the second young master of the Chen family, and the last time they met, Sun Yi threw wine in his face. This man walks up to her, saying that she left last time without saying goodbye, so now she has to drink a bottle of wine with him to make amends. He calls this an order, not a request, and demands that she understand that. Looking troubled by the confrontation, she asks if she could just finish the half glass of wine she's already holding because she can't handle any more than that. It turns out that the last time he offered her wine, she tasted something strange in it. She suspected that it had been drugged, so she spilled it on him. Now that she's rejected him, he starts to show his true colors, desperate to have her all to himself. He tells her about his residential suite and says that she can sleep there after getting drunk. Yi is scared of his true nature. He's notorious for drugging girls and assaulting them, even if they are underage. He's the biggest scum. Seeing her persistently refusing, the man starts pressuring her, asking her to drop the act of pretending to be a good girl. He was born into an ordinary family and gave up her studies early to enter society. It took her a long time to reach the position of director. Although, in the eyes of outsiders, she was superior compared to Chen Feng, the son of a high-status family, she was nothing. Seeing her in such a troublesome situation, Chen jumps in, snatches the bottle, and smacks it across Feng's face. While the spoiled man is whining about getting hit, everyone there is dumbfounded by Chen's audacity to attack the younger master of the Chen family. The most terrifying thing about the Chen family is that they are rumored to have an ancient martial artist on their side. The spectators fear that the assailant will not live through tonight for daring to mess with them. Meanwhile, Yi is actually scared of getting him involved in this. She apologizes to Feng, promising to drink whatever wine he wants and however much she can tonight with him. She just wants them to let her friend go. The spoiled man-child slaps her, shouting that she has no right to talk to him about conditions. He states that it's not only she who is in danger of angering him, but that the person who attacked him will die here as well. Moreover, he talks about having fun with her right in front of him, but just as he finishes, Chen kicks him in his privates and stomps his face into the wall. While he was able to teach him a lesson, he couldn't do any more harm to him, as they were once again interrupted by a man followed by several others. This man, all red with anger, demands that Chen let go of Feng. He is the head of the Chen family, Chen Zhengguo. The old man accompanying him is seemingly a legendary ancient martial artist. While the spoiled man-child is shouting for help from his father, Yi is thinking about how to save her friend from this troublesome situation. Meanwhile, her friend casually lets the perverted son of Zhengguo go, who then rushes to his father to tell him that he was kicked in his privates and wants him to take revenge. His father tells him to shut up and step back, as he asks the old martial artist accompanying him about Chen. The old man informs the pervert spoiled child's father that they are up against a martial artist, but judging by his age, he suspects that Chen has not been in the mortal warrior realm for very long. Zhengguo calls himself a merciful man with a good heart, and softly tells the old martial artist to spare Chen's life if he begs for mercy. With that, the old man starts walking up to him, commending him for being so skillful at such a young age, and adding that it's a pity he has to end him now. Meanwhile, Chen tells Yi to step back, as the old man reminds him that he's messed with the wrong people, and then suddenly charges at him. The enemy whispers in his ear to beg for mercy, since he still has a chance. However, in response, Chen asks the old man if he's chosen a coffin for himself yet, and whether there's someone at home to give him a funeral. Such words immediately offend the enemy, who starts swinging his arms. Surprisingly, the old man isn't able to land a single punch, and ends up getting hit in the face instead. Chen knocks him down with a single punch, shocking everyone, both friend and foe. Go can't believe that the mighty Ming Lao was defeated by a young man. Having been knocked down, the old man, in disbelief, asks him about his real identity. Instead of replying, Chen questions whether he deserves to know, and suddenly a shockwave and cough come from the old man's scream that affects everyone in the vicinity. The young man then approaches Guo and repeats the words about mercy and having a good heart that were told to him. He further reveals that he knows the Chen family also had a hand in the Ye family's downfall. However, words alone aren't enough to make the enemy stop, as he commands his men to stop him. The bodyguards jump at him, thinking they can take a single man down by themselves, but a single punch from him is enough to defeat all of them. Seeing the utter defeat of all his men, including the best of the best, Guo immediately falls to his knees, apologizes for his son's naivety, and asks to be spared along with his son. He remarks that he didn't know Sun Yi was his woman, but Chen thinks it's time for them to pay the debt, only to be stopped by someone again. The person who stops him from humiliating Guo is a lady officer. When she looks closely, she is baffled to see Zheng Guo and his son on their knees, kneeling in front of a young man. Meanwhile, the head of the Guo family thinks they are saved because, no matter if he's a martial artist, he is worthless in front of the authorities. The officer also spots the mighty Ming Lao crawling on the ground and wonders if the young man in front of her is the one who did it. Chen uses this chance to report the situation to the officers, the police force behind the lady officer. Holding Guo by the hair, he explains that this man molested a woman, but he caught him. However, the lady officer draws her gun on him instead and demands that he let him go, or she will shoot. He turns to the lady officer and tells her to stay out of this, calling it a personal matter. This convinces her that he is out of his head, because even if it's a normal fight, the police still have to take care of it. She orders him to get down and put his hands on the ground. Just as he thinks about going even further and attacking the police, Yi stops him with a warning that if he doesn't do what he's told, she's done with him. After making him surrender, she asks the officers not to shoot. This makes him wonder if she's going to let herself be taken in now, but she tells him that they will be fine. They will go to the station to give a statement and should be fine. He was defending himself, so he should have nothing to worry about. However, he's not concerned about being taken away, because no one can stop him from leaving anyway. Sometime later, the officers check the Long Lake Hotel's surveillance videos and discover that some of the footage has been deleted. However, the remaining footage shows that Ye Chen was acting in self-defense. She seems a little confused after finding out that some of the footage was deleted, so she asks which part was missing. The officer shows her the footage where Ming Lao is confronting Chen in one frame, but in the next frame, the old man has already collapsed. There is no footage showing what happened in between. She can't believe that someone was able to get to the footage before them, even though they thought they had arrived fast enough. Suspecting Chen, she thinks there might be a very powerful force behind him, but since there isn't enough evidence, they can only conclude that he was justified in defending himself. She then issues the order to let him go. A short while later, he can be seen outside with Sun Yi, having been released from detention. She was confident they wouldn't get into trouble, and now that she's free, she wants to rush home and take a shower to get rid of the bad luck on her body. On the other hand, he can't shake off the feeling that Zheng Guo and his son are a hidden danger to Sun Yi. Once he leaves Zhangcheng, they will never let her live in peace. He has to figure something out before anything happens to her. Meanwhile, noticing his facial expressions, she realizes that he always has a kind of indescribable dangerous aura. Abruptly, he catches her staring at him. He brings his face closer and asks what's up, and she gives the reason for staring, saying she was going to ask where he lives so that she could take him there. He reveals that he has just come to Jiangcheng and has not found a place to live. It is also too late to sleep in the park tonight. She thinks about it for a moment and musters up the courage to invite him to stay the night at her house, as she has a spare room at home. She blushes as she invites him. He also has fun teasing her in response, asking if she isn't afraid that he might do bad things to her, or whether she's doing this on purpose, giving him her body in return for helping her. Blushing because of his outrageous remarks, she demands a no-nonsense answer. But since this offer is too good to reject, he immediately accepts. Meanwhile, as she passes by them in her car, the lady officer wonders how a nobody like him could beat the Chen family's bodyguards, even though they are special forces made up of retired martial artists. She thinks this is too difficult for her to handle alone, so she calls for help from someone she knows, referring to that person as her brother. She asks him to check out the video she has sent and help her analyze the person in it. Elsewhere, the person whom the lady officer called for help is shown relaxing in the Siberian mountains. He seems upset with his sister's decision to become a cop in a small city, and he's always helping her solve cases. He's the captain of the Dragon Spirit Commando unit, not a police officer. He decides not to think too much about it and opens his laptop to look at the footage she sent. He plays the clip and sees Special Forces veterans bullying Chen. But when he looks closely, he notices the ordinary-looking boy using ancient martial arts and realizes that he is not an ordinary ancient martial artist. Having grown curious, he immediately calls his sister and demands information on the young man in the video. Meanwhile, at the Jiangcheng Metropolitan Apartment, Sun Yi's home, she appears to have taken a shower and tells him that he can use the bathroom. While taking a bath, he recalls being saved by his master, which he once thought was a blessing. But to his surprise, it was the beginning of a nightmare. On the first day, without explaining anything to him, his master left him in a cage. He had to fight a tiger that had been hungry for 3 days. Although he defeated the tiger and survived, what came next was even more terrifying for him at such a young age. His old master taught him cultivation, and then he was trained in various dangerous places. Every challenge he faced was almost certain death. But no matter what came at him, he survived to the end. What has kept him alive until now is nothing but endless anger and hatred. His ultimate goal is to find everyone who participated in the gathering at Yunha Villa back then and make them pay for their sins. Back to Sun Yi, as she gets ready to prepare dinner for herself and him, she realizes that she has no clothes for Ye Chen to change into. But what's worse is remembering that she forgot to hide her underwear, which she doesn't want him to see. Lost in these thoughts, she carelessly barges into the bathroom and almost collapses after seeing him with only a towel wrapped around his waist, which coincidentally slips at the worst possible time. Looking completely flustered, she rushes out of the bathroom, shouting that she didn't mean to take advantage of him. She locks herself in her room, trying to forget what she saw when the towel slipped. Meanwhile, waiting right outside her room, he feels sure that she won't come out for the rest of the night. But this is actually good for him, because now he can settle his business. He has to get rid of the evil at its root. Go is not happy, having barely escaped the predicament his son put him in. When his son tries to calm him down, he lashes out at him, blaming him for Ming Lao's condition, as he has been reduced to a cripple. Now that the old man is gone, their family is in danger. Feng tries to calm him down, reminding him that Grandpa is still alive, not referring to Ming Lao, but to his actual blood-related grandfather. However, his father won't calm down until he has eradicated that kid. He plans to go to Wuyi Mountain and ask the old man for help, and his son encourages him to do so. Feng wants to break his legs and torture Sun Yi, but much to their disappointment, Chen emerges from the balcony, having heard their plan. He jumps inside and takes a seat, proposing a chat so they can settle this. Startled by his sudden arrival, the son asks if he's here to kill them, but the father tells his son not to worry, stating that Chen wouldn't dare to. This only further infuriates Chen, prompting him to demonstrate that he won't hesitate to cut down either him or his son. Witnessing his son's death, he sobs and says that they have no grudge against him, pleading for mercy. However, Chen just laughs at him for saying that after everything he's gone through. Having the head of the Zheng family pinned down, he asks if he remembers the banquet at Yunhu Villa 5 years ago, especially the dead Ye family couple. The enemy recognizes him as the Ye family's trash, the person who fell into the river, but despite remembering that, he refuses to believe that it's really him, calling it impossible. Holding the enemy by the face, he says he's going to tell him another secret before killing him. He reveals that he is not the ancient martial artist he was assumed to be, but a cultivator instead. In Guo's eyes, an ancient martial artist may be the sky, but in the eyes of practitioners like him, even if they have a martial arts master or an entire clan behind them, he, Ye Chen, can cut through them with a single sword. Cultivating at Wuyi Mountain, Chen Yuanli of the Chen family, the father of family head Zheng Guo, learns about the deaths of his son and grandson, which disrupts his foundation. He seems extremely upset because the foundation he built over 10 years has been destroyed. He swears to the heavens that he will find whoever killed his kin and tear them to pieces himself. Elsewhere, while cultivating at Sun Yi's apartment, Chen experiences his cultivation failing. He realizes that China's spiritual energy is too thin. It is no match for the place where he used to cultivate. To continue cultivating, he must make some pills. The anniversary of his parents' deaths is a week away, and he wants to visit Tiandan Mountain, where they are buried. Remembering his dead parents, he takes out a black stone that was given to him by his father on his 11th birthday, saying it was a family heirloom of the Ye family. But it still hasn't responded after all those years, and to him it's just an ordinary stone. He suddenly notices words scribbled on it which read, "blood drip." Unable to see what's written clearly, he decides to drop a drop of blood so that the stone can identify its owner. As soon as the blood drop covers the scribbled text on the stone, he starts feeling dizzy and is unable to hold on any longer. Ye Chen opens his eyes inside a strange cemetery that looks more like a battlefield because of the countless swords embedded in the ground. He's feeling a headache, and upon fully opening his eyes, he notices black fog surrounding him. It takes him a few seconds to fully realize that he's in an unfamiliar place. Soon, some entities with distorted figures emerge from within the black fog, telling him to get lost if he wants to live. Stricken by fear, he starts to feel overwhelmed, only to wake up from this nightmare and realize that it was all because of the black stone. He remembers hearing from his father that this black stone is an ancient treasure, and thinks that if he reaches a certain threshold of strength, he can invoke the obsession of a great power within a tombstone. There are 100 tombstones in the reincarnation graveyard, which means there are already 100 great powers there. It's already morning, and Sun Yi is there knocking on his door to tell him that breakfast is ready. After getting ready, he joins her for breakfast. At the breakfast table, he expresses his gratitude to her for being good to him and taking care of him. He jokes about giving her his body, cooking for her, and warming her bed in winter. She laughs at him, replying that he can't take advantage of her because the house has floor heating in the winter. But that doesn't rule out the possibility of him staying here. She lets him know that the rent in this apartment is paid monthly, and secondly, he has to take care of his own chores. He gets a bit stressed about the rent because he doesn't have any money right now. Hearing this, she wonders if this guy is trying to get her to take care of him. In that moment, something in him snaps, and he starts writing something on a piece of tissue paper. He writes down a skincare formula, thinking it's enough to support a public company and cover his rent. She explains that he has some misunderstanding about public companies, but he insists that she show the formula to the technical department because they will know what it's worth. According to him, it could be worth at least 10 million. Their conversation comes to an end when Yi receives a call from Xiaoruok Shui. She's summoned for an urgent meeting, so she decides to head there immediately, telling him to stop bragging and find a job already. Before coming here, he had heard that Chinese medicine was no longer taken seriously, but he didn't think it was actually true. Later, he takes a sheet of paper and writes "white bone, hanging breath" on it. Sitting by the roadside with a speaker in his hand, he offers treatment for all kinds of diseases, with consultation fees starting at 100,000, which is already a 20% discount. He will accept the money only on the condition that his treatment works. However, the people are not fooled by him, calling him a madman instead. As they are about to call the police and report him, he thinks about moving his stall to another place. Just then, a young woman pushes through the crowd and asks him to follow her. Following the young lady, Chen arrives at her house, which is a huge mansion. He thinks he's there to treat someone, and when she learns about it, she clarifies that it's a misunderstanding. Pointing to her heart, she explains that the reason she called him here lies there. He tells her that he doesn't have time to play along with her, but quickly changes his attitude when he sees her offering him a card credited with 100,000. She reveals that it's true her father is sick. His doctor said that he might not last more than a few days, and since their family is very close, she's afraid her father will really die and that her mother will do something reckless if she can't think straight. She hopes he pretends to be a doctor and takes her father away before he dies. She believes that if they can get through this period, her mother will be able to cope with her father's departure and eventually move on. He's not happy with the way she's using him, but he has other plans, and when he thinks about them, he can't help but smile. He reassures her that he will take care of it and complete the task. She says that she's counting on him, and if he doesn't complete it successfully, he will be handed over to the police. After this, they proceed inside the house, where an old maid seems unhappy with her decision to bring an outsider. However, the young lady introduces Chen as a friend who is here to offer his help. Before they enter her father's room, she reminds him of what to do once they go inside. After that, as soon as he steps into the room, he notices that her father's condition is extremely severe and cannot be saved by mortal medicine. Dead air has already filled his chest, and once it reaches his head, even a great immortal won't be able to save him. The young lady, who goes by the name Jia, reveals that last month her father, Shen Haihua, was diagnosed with advanced lung cancer. Even though he went to the best hospitals abroad, the treatment was still ineffective. They then hired Dr. Q from the capital, who informed them that her father only had 1 day left to live. She doesn't want her mother to find out about this and needs his help with that. It doesn't matter how much he asks for. Money isn't her concern. However, much to her surprise, her mother arrives in the room with Dr. Q and reveals that she already knows her husband won't live past today, claiming that this is what the doctor told her. Jia seems very upset with Dr. Q for not colluding with her, even though he promised not to tell her mother. Her brother also enters the room and tells her that she shouldn't have lied to her mother, because it's normal to grow old and die. Her brother, Shen Menglong, seems like a self-centered person, which becomes evident when he comments that he's already arranged the funeral for their father. Jia urges him to stop with this nonsense, especially since their mother is not well either. He tells his mom to be happy now that her husband is leaving this world, because he's already lived such a hard life and should be relieved. Moreover, he can't bear to see his father suffer all the time, or so he says. He also promises not to treat Jia badly once he takes over the family business. Their mother can't seem to cope with the situation. She says she won't be able to live without her husband and will die with him. Chen has realized what's happening here. If Shen Haihua dies, the inheritance will be divided equally between his wife, son, and daughter, and the son wants to kill his mother just to get more property. Jia finally speaks up against her brother for not being sad about their father's condition. Just for a little money, he wants to kill his own mother too, which makes him an animal. Being called an animal pisses him off. He points out that it's their mother who wants to die, and he can't stop her. Furious, he attempts to jump at her, but Chen intervenes, pinning him down instantly and telling him that his father is not dead yet. Dr. Q, out of nowhere, shouts at him, questioning his identity and informing him that he has just assaulted the next head of the Shen family. Abruptly, Chen lifts a finger and demands 10 million to save the current family head. Jiajia's mother asks her if that young man is really able to save her father. The daughter puts up the act of having known him for a long time and claims he's a very good doctor, so their father is going to be fine. Deep down, she thinks about how she can't reveal that the young man she's brought is a damned liar who's openly asking for 10 million. Though now, she can only assume that he wants to hide it from her mother. Menglong threatens to put her and Chen in jail if their father dies now. Later, when he's left alone in the room with the Shen family head, he begins the treatment procedure. He knows for sure that Haihua is lucky to have met him. His master taught him the art of healing, to such a level that it's enough to bring him or anyone else back from the grave. He chants a spell, and the magic surrounding the atmosphere lifts the family's head and body into the air. The death gas has become entangled, and the meridians are blocked, but there is still a vein. If it connects, his life can be saved. Raising the yang vessel, he breaks the dark energy and exterminates it. This is a struggle. He never thought saving Haihua would take so much out of him. He thinks he needs to practice more. After this, he breaks the news to the family that the family head will wake up soon. He tells them to go ahead and check on him before making the payment. But right as the family head's wife is about to give him the card with the money in it, Menglong snatches the card from his mother, arguing that his father can't be cured because he has terminal cancer. Chen wants that $10 million, telling the self-centered son of the family head that this is his fee for saving their father. With Menglong pointing his finger at him, Chen grabs it in the heat of the moment, which makes him blush. His father's savior twists his arm, snatches the debit card that is rightfully his now, and reveals that the family head will be awake for 3 days. For now, he will take the money and tell them to call him in 3 days so he can give him further treatment. If it's not him, even the King of Heaven cannot save Haihua. After that, Chen leaves, but Menglong, having been humiliated, says he's going to call the cops on him. Abruptly, the family head walks out of his room on his own 2 legs, bringing mixed feelings into the room, smiles to the faces of his wife and daughter, and utter shock to the face of his son, who didn't want to see him wake up to another son. Haihua reunites with his family and inquires about the doctor so he can thank him. Telling his wife and daughter that he's alive because of the doctor and their prayers, he then turns to his son, initially pretending not to know what he was up to. Then, right when his son is acting all innocent, he reveals that he knows what he did, or attempted to do, while he was sick. His father makes it clear that he won't give him a penny, and further calls him a lowlife, because if the doctor who saved him hadn't come here, he would have let him die. Elsewhere, at the Huamei Group Enterprises, Sun Yi and the other staff members can be seen waiting for the CEO, Sharuok Shui. Everyone in the room seems distressed because the group's stock price has plummeted, and the company is in trouble. They know that it's going to be a tough time for them now, and they can't avoid the inevitable. If the group does not launch any new beauty products, sooner or later, it will be crushed. Yi is just as worried as the others. She is thinking about what she can do. Sun Yi feels something itchy on her chest, and when she pulls it out to check it, she discovers it to be the beauty pill recipe from Chen. She seems completely flustered upon realizing that it wasn't supposed to be where she found it, which means he stuffed it in there. She tries to ignore it for now, but just as she's about to do so, one of her peers, an older lady, snatches it from her, curious about what she is hiding in her underwear. She demands that the lady, named Suna, return the paper, but her colleague mocks her for treasuring something that she probably got from a scammer. She takes it a step further by asking if she lets this person sleep with her for this stuff. Yi fires back at her, saying that not every woman is as cheap as her, accusing her of trading her body for money. However, her colleague proceeds to tear the paper into pieces, sending Yi over the edge. Enraged, Yi pushes her, and soon the fight becomes physical, with the other staff quietly spectating as they fight. Just then, Sharuok Shu arrives and orders them to stop fighting. The meeting is about to commence, and she can't have them causing trouble. Once she has scared them into relenting, she begins the meeting. She first points out that nowadays their rival companies are producing advanced oral liquids, and then demands an answer as to why their products have remained stagnant after so many years of production. 3, to be precise. One of the staff members explains that it's not like they don't work hard. The beauty industry is too competitive. They have researched all the existing formulas and can't seem to find a better alternative. Their R&D department even traveled around the world to collect recipes, but there are very few beauty recipes from ancient times, so even the ancient books aren't helping them. Beauty formulas are extremely rare, and she knows this better than anyone. It took her 5 years to build the largest beauty group in Jiangcheng, just to get her parents to give up the idea of marrying her off. Suna takes advantage of this moment to further humiliate Yi and get revenge for earlier. She announces in front of everyone that the director has a lot in her hands, and that just now, she was holding a copy of what is called a beauty elixir. The elixir is presumably a lost formula from ancient times. The staff believes that if Yi really has the formula, the company will be saved. Surprisingly, Ruok Shu seems to be more excited than anyone else in the room. She asks the director to confirm it, but Yi denies having something valuable. She explains that it's something she got from someone, but the CEO, having grown curious, still wants to see it. Since the recipe for the elixir has been torn into countless pieces, Yi collects all the pieces and puts them on the table for her to see. Suna, meanwhile, appears to be happy with how Yi is being made a fool of, thinking that the CEO will snap at her. But contrary to her expectations, quite the opposite happens. One of the experts takes a look at a tiny piece of paper and realizes that it's a legitimate formula. This expert staff member, having discovered that the formula is real, reveals to the CEO that he saw Suna tear it up. The formula was supposed to be a matter of life and death for the group, and she just destroyed it. The CEO has also had enough of her shenanigans, and she dismisses her from her position as director. If they aren't able to recover the prescription, she will make sure Suna is held criminally responsible. Suna, in an apologetic tone, says she didn't know it was real, but she doesn't look regretful at all. The expert staff member stands up to explain that their company's original formula is based on medicinal ingredients. Unfortunately, they don't have the full formula, but if they can recover the paper, they can make a qualitative breakthrough. Xia tells them that there's no time to lose and asks everyone there to help Director Sun collect the fragments. They have to recover the recipe no matter what. Suna wasn't expecting that recipe to be such a big deal, especially since it belonged to Sun Yi. To her surprise, the CEO deliberately asks who tore up the recipe and then turns to Suna to tell her that, since there's a shortage of shop assistants, she's being demoted to a shop assistant. Soon the meeting ends and Yi returns to her apartment. She tries to look for her friend, calling his name a few times. But when she doesn't hear a word in response, she assumes he hasn't returned yet. Now that she's home, she thinks about how she didn't expect his formula to be real. She takes a moment to look back on what has happened since he arrived. He's strong and has written a secret recipe, but that's also why he's suspicious. The funniest thing is that she's let such a strange man live in her house. She wonders if he will disappear if she finds out his identity. Abruptly, he comes up behind her and asks why she was calling out to him. He explains that he had just come home and heard her calling for him. The situation becomes too awkward for her, but he thinks she's suddenly stammering because she believes he's not doing his share of the chores, which he immediately clarifies. She says that she wanted to apologize to him because the recipe he gave her was shredded into pieces. However, based on his reaction, he surprisingly calls the elixir recipe a beginner's recipe and reassures her that he will see how many more he can write for her. After this, he says that he's a little too tired today and is going to bed, but she's not done questioning him and attempts to stop him. He jokes about how he's tired, but if she asks, he wouldn't say no as a man. His puns annoy her, making her clarify that it's not the kind of thing he thinks it is, and that if he tries to do that, she will call the police. She reminds him of the first time they met, when he was clamoring to see the head of the Huame group, Xia Ruoxue. But now, it's quite a coincidence. After talking with the group CEO, she now wants to meet him as well. He attempts to play tough by saying he's not available, and then asks if the CEO is worthy. He makes it clear that he's not as easygoing as she thinks. Yesterday she ignored him, and today she wants his help. Yi argues based on logic, saying that she's the president, so he should have made an appointment beforehand. After much nagging and refusing, she finally gets him to agree to meet Xia tomorrow, but it will be Xia who comes to meet him, not the other way around. After this, he goes to his room, says he's going to bed, and doesn't want to discuss it anymore today. Afterward, Yi receives a call from the president and is informed that her friend agrees to meet her, but under the condition that she must go to him personally. The CEO has no problem with that, and until then, she counts on Yi to keep an eye on him. Ruoxu finds him interesting. He would rather make a scene at the front desk to see her, and now he's acting like this. She's curious and wants to see what kind of man he is. The next morning, he goes to the Rendezvous Hall, the largest pharmacy in Jiangcheng, for some kind of business. Chen is really taken aback by how big this pharmacy is, and there are a lot of people. He decides to look around the place before doing what he came here for. Walking into the pharmacy without a worry, he comes across a painting of a mysterious mythical creature and wonders aloud if it's a replica. Right then, a girl and an old man named Zhu Zixuan and Zhu Rende, respectively, hear him talk about the painting and confront him for daring to call their family treasure a replica. The old man accompanying the girl tells her to stop being rude, then turns to Chen and asks what makes him think it's a fake, further pointing out that even several collectors have examined it and have never called it fake. Chen claims that this just reveals that all those collectors, and even the old man himself, are clumsy. They have eyes but cannot see or judge anything. He then proceeds to walk away but stops again for a moment to point out that he was expecting to see something good in this store. So far, however, he may have been thinking too much. The young girl, Zixuan, becomes insanely furious because of his rude attitude and tells her grandfather that she wants to beat him up and teach him a lesson. Rende warns her that she can't fight with ordinary people, asking her to keep control. But despite his warning, she still attempts to kick him with the ancient martial arts she's practiced her whole life. To both of their surprise, he grabs her by the foot and asks if that's all she's got. Since he's grabbed her by the foot and it's already been some time, she blushes and asks him to let go of her already, calling him a pervert as well. He does let go of her but not gently. He smacks her onto the ground face first. He once again expresses disappointment, saying he never thought he would meet an ancient martial artist here. However, the martial arts she's practicing are oriented toward men, not women. At this rate, if she continues with it, she will become useless in a few years. Zixuan, being true to her age, a kid, tries to argue back after being dropped face first, but her grandfather tells her to stop because the young man standing right in front of them just blocked her kick without using real chi. If he hadn't shown her mercy, she might not even be standing here. But she still believes that he's a nobody who doesn't know anything about chi, claiming she was careless earlier and got caught off guard. This forces him to demonstrate what real chi is, and the sheer amount of chi he releases is enough to make her give up. Rende apologizes for his granddaughter's actions and for not being able to recognize what a remarkable person Chen is. But Chen doesn't seem offended, because she's just a child. The old man tells his granddaughter to quickly apologize to him, and once they have reconciled, he asks Chen to enlighten them about the painting from earlier. Since they are sincerely asking questions, he tells them to look closely as he demonstrates with his magic just how hard it is to distinguish this painting from a real one. That's why the imitators dare to write this kind of signature openly. If one can use real qi, they can make it appear. Later, Zixuan personally gives him the medicine that he came to the rendezvous hall for. Looking extremely annoyed and barely keeping up with him, she pretends to be honored to serve him herself, but wonders aloud if he has enough money to purchase these rare herbs. He admits that she was flexible and adds that he still likes the way she was unruly. She asks him not to be rude and claims that if her master were here, he would be in big trouble. However, her grandfather lets her know that Chen is not below her master in strength. The old man then turns to him and once again apologizes for his granddaughter's immature behavior. Chen gave Rende a list of medicines that he wanted, but unfortunately, they don't have the quantity he needs. However, the old man reveals that they can arrange it and only need a few days to do so. They are willing to give it to him for free as an apology, but he insists that there's no need for them to do him such a favor. They can simply charge him the market price. He reveals that he has made a fortune recently, and not to mention, he doesn't want to be seen as someone who takes advantage of others. He says goodbye and leaves, remarking that he will be back in a few days. After he has left, the old man looks surprised and wonders aloud if Chen is a member of the Ye family because of his surname. His granddaughter also wants to know why her grandfather knows someone like him, thinking it might be because he's a famous ancient martial artist. The old man is certain of one thing: if he's the real Ye Chen, then this city will have no peace for a while. Meanwhile, on his way back home, Chen thinks about his parents' death anniversary, which is coming soon. It's time for him to make some preparations for it. But before that, there's still a mole, a stalker, that needs to be dealt with. Back at the Zhu family residence, the granddaughter laughs at her grandfather for comparing Chen to her master. In her eyes, all he did was identify a fake painting. The old man admits that he was wrong to say that the young man was as strong as her master, because he's far stronger than her master. He adds that Chen's sudden appearance means a new grandmaster has emerged. Rumor has it that a martial arts master can kill a well-trained, heavily armed army with his bare hands. They can ignore any conventional weapon, and ordinary people are nothing more than ants in their eyes. But his age makes it hard for Zixuan to believe that he's a grandmaster. Her grandfather enlightens her that they are talking about a force far more fearsome than a grandmaster. If he's given a few more years, hardly anyone in this world will be able to match his strength. In the end, he doesn't want the Zhu family to become his enemy, no matter what. Elsewhere, a stranger stalking Chen is following him because Shen Haihua is looking for him, and there's money to be made by the person who finds him. The stranger is thinking about the reward he may receive for reporting him to the Shen family head. However, to his surprise, Chen suddenly walks into an alley, making him realize that he's been discovered. Despite that, he proceeds to walk into the alley, where he is ambushed by the person he's following. With him pinned to the ground, Chen asks the spy to give him a reason not to kill him. The stranger begs not to be killed, promising to tell him everything. And by everything, the detective starts giving out every tiny detail about his personal and work life. This enrages Chen, who shouts at him to stop talking nonsense and reveal the relevant details. The detective reveals that it was Shen Haihua who issued a reward throughout Jiangcheng. As long as someone found him, the Shen family head would reward them with 1 million. The young man gave the Shen family head 3 days of life. If there is no follow-up treatment from him within those 3 days, Haihua will surely die. The detective asks him to come with him in exchange for splitting the reward 70-30. Chen tells the detective to pass on a message to the Shen family head and not play petty tricks. The man tries to stop him, but Chen refuses, saying that he's busy today. After this, the detective reveals that his client hired him because he couldn't figure out Chen's movements. At the Jiangcheng metropolitan apartment, Chen catches his benefactor dressed up so nicely and asks what she's dressed up for. She explains that she's going to take him shopping because he's been wearing the same outfit for too long. She is also going to buy him a cell phone so she can contact him. While he finds this troublesome, she reassures him not to worry about the money. She will be paying for it. Later, when he's suited up in a nice outfit, she compliments him on looking handsome, adding that if he goes around the university now, he will surely get hit on by students. She then asks him to be honest with her and questions whether he has a girlfriend. She says she can introduce a girl to him if he wants. Her friends are all single and beautiful, but he still refuses, prompting her to call him an innocent little virgin. Chen has never had the time for love since the death of his parents. In the past 5 years, he has been cultivating intensely, but back in the day, he liked a girl from his school. She was the girl many of his classmates secretly liked. At that time, he sent her a letter and also received a response. She agreed to go out with him as long as he confessed to her in front of all the teachers and students at the school's morning assembly. His inexperienced self believed her and did what he was told without thinking twice, but she rejected him in front of everyone. Everything was a trap made to trick and humiliate him. Since then, he has been devastated and self-destructive, gradually becoming a loser. Perhaps he was indeed a loser back then, but now he thinks the major families in Jiangcheng are nothing before him. Meanwhile, having teased him a little, his benefactor wonders if her words hurt his self-esteem. Worried, she tries to comfort him by revealing that she's never been in love either, but that doesn't change anything. She's still alive. He pinches her head and tells her to stop spouting nonsense. She's here to buy him clothes, so she should stick to that. She agrees to continue their shopping session, asking him to select clothes that she can afford, and warning him not to go overboard. Abruptly, at that moment, a couple acquainted with Yi greeted her. The woman, who seems rather rude, hasn't seen her in years, and after all those years, is curious if she has a boyfriend. The rude lady starts making fun of her for being close to Ye Chen when she was in school, and now her boyfriend is wearing a stall, which shows that she likes poor people. She checks out Chen and tells Yi that her boyfriend looks a bit like her old boyfriend. The rude lady's boyfriend also wants to hear about the Ye family's loser and his glory story. She explains to her boyfriend that the person they are talking about confessed to her friend, Chu Shu Ran, and was rejected in public. He was so humiliated that he didn't dare come to school anymore. Later, his family was exterminated by others. Otherwise, her friend would have teased him a bit more. Expectedly, this disrespect infuriates Chen, who says that he's going to shut her up forever. But his benefactor steps in to stop him, telling him not to listen to her provocations, and that they should continue shopping for clothes. The woman mocks them both for being poor and flexes by asking her boyfriend to buy her a few sets of clothes as well. In exchange, she says she will let him do whatever he wants with her tonight. He can even bring his friends. After this, the couple decides to go shopping and leaves them be. Chen pushes Yi aside for a moment, saying he's going to take care of it, but she fears he's going to cause trouble again. After all, they were just called to the police station the other day because of the Chen family matter. However, it's not the rude couple he intends to deal with. He was planning to pick out an outfit for himself. He does pick one, but they are informed that the outfit he chose is the most expensive item in the store, listed at 360,000. Sun Yi was expecting this store to be expensive, but she never thought it would be to this extent. She doesn't have that much money with her, and since she can't directly refuse, she pretends not to like it, and suggests he should go for something else with more decent colors. But the rude woman from earlier once again appears there and ridicules Yi for not having enough money and for pretending not to like it. Yi gets annoyed by that comment, so she clarifies the basis of her statements, saying she only thinks the color doesn't fit on him, but she can afford it. Her old friend refuses to believe her, reminding her that she didn't even finish high school because of her sick brother. Before Yi can say anything, her friend threatens her, saying that her best friend is Chu Shu Ran, and that if Yi hits her now, she won't be able to stay in Jiangcheng. Even after saying all that, the rude woman dares her to hit her, but Chen is already too furious, so he steps in and slaps her across the face, sending her to the ground. With an annoyed expression, he tells her that it's better if she keeps her mouth shut forever. The annoying lady is shocked and in disbelief that she was hit. She questions Chen for hitting her despite knowing that both her best friend and her boyfriend are big shots, but he replies that it's none of his business. This prompts her boyfriend to introduce himself. He reveals that he is the chief financial officer of the Beiming Group, earning 5 million a year. He claims to be a man of high status whom a poor man like Chen can't even afford to mess with. But then, out of nowhere, Shen Haihua with his son arrives to defend his savior. He angrily asks who dares to use the name of his group to pressure Dr. Ye. It turns out that the Beiming Group is the Shen family head's company, and Haihua is its president. Jun, the annoying lady's boyfriend, is baffled to see the president here, having heard that he was terminally ill. Meanwhile, Yi wonders why such a big shot would show up here. She fears that if he backs up He Chen, her old chatterbox friend, then they are done for. Xian tells Haihua how much she admires him, while her boyfriend asks if he's here to inspect the new project. However, the Shen family head doesn't even bat an eye at them. He grabs Chen's hand and tells him that he is grateful for saving his life. If he hadn't shown up that day, he would have died. The rude couple is in disbelief after what they just witnessed. The Shen family head lowers himself to show respect to the exact people they were disrespecting. He even uses honorifics when addressing Chen. Yi is just as shocked as the couple. He came to Jiangcheng only a few days ago, and he already knows the infamous Shen Haihua. Chen speaks with the Shen family head, saying that when he allowed him to live, it was his family that failed to cherish him. Haihua apologizes for his son's naivety, saying that he's already taught Menglong a lesson for offending him that day, and now he will have his son make amends. The old man then calls for his son to come over and kneel before their savior. Menglong kneels before Chen and apologizes for his mistakes. Xian is extremely baffled watching the arrogant Shen Menglong on his knees. She knows him pretty well and wasn't expecting him to actually kneel before someone. This makes her curious about Chen's background, wondering if he came from Jiangnan province or from a larger family. To everyone's shock, Chen ignores the Shen family head and tells Yi that they should go to the women's clothing section next. This time, he's going to buy her clothes. However, instead of feeling disrespected or offended, the Shen family head snaps at his son, saying that if Ye doesn't agree to forgive him, Menglong will have to kneel before him for the rest of his life. Jun tries to intervene in the family business by calming his boss down, only to get smacked across the face by Haihua. The Shen family head tells him to pack his things and get out of the group along with his father, all because he was involved in offending Dr. Ye. The old man knows that his life is in Chen's hands, so he does not want to die. Xian tells her boyfriend that they seem to have offended a big shot, while her boyfriend cries out loud after losing everything. Later, after shopping for clothes for each other, Yi says that she doesn't understand it. He can't afford to pay the rent, but still bought her clothes. Though she seems grateful for the clothes, saying she's happy to have them, he thinks she believes he is still as poor as before and only picked a few discounted items, not anything expensive, not knowing that he still has millions in his hands. In the end, he thinks she's a good woman and likes her demeanor. Suddenly, Haihua appears in front of them with loads of gifts and asks both of them to stay. He asks them if they are having a good time, but Chen is already annoyed with him after the show he put on earlier, so he asks what the old man wants. The old man tells him that he's misunderstanding and explains that he's not looking for him, but the lady beside him. The staff of their group just insulted her, and he's taking responsibility for it. He came to apologize, asking her to accept these small gifts. She's caught off guard by these gifts, but they are the clothes that she tried on and liked very much, but because they were too expensive, she could not buy them. Meanwhile, Chen quietly admires Haihua for trying to open a breakthrough from Sun Yi's side, knowing that he can't please him. He tells the Shen family head that he's going to give him one last chance and will come to his house tomorrow at 9 a.m. He reminds the old man to remember that he can either save his life or take it back. The old man thanks him with a smile and says he's willing to help him with whatever he needs in the future. Qian, at her best friend Shu Ran's mansion, informs her about Ye Chen's arrival. Although his personality has changed greatly, his appearance and name are similar. She also shares how Shen Haihua bowed down to him. Shu Ran doesn't seem shocked. She reveals that she has dealt with Haihua before. The old man is very experienced and wise, but for him to bow down to a young man, she thinks her old classmate must now be very powerful and influential. Still, she wonders how, if he's the same person from before, he could have become so powerful. Shu Ran tells her friend that the Ye family once had no choice but to grovel before the Chu family. Now, even after 5 years, the Chu family will still be in existence that her old classmate can only look up to. At the Zhongcheng metropolitan apartment, Yi seems extremely happy to have received all those designer clothes from the Shen family head, clothes she normally wouldn't purchase. She wants to know how her flatmate met Haihua. After this, she asks him if he's really not going to see her there. She teases him, saying that he surely can't resist the most beautiful girl in the world, but he thinks there's no point in bringing up that silly idea, telling her that she's free to have fun by herself. He wants to watch TV for a while. Checking his phone, he finds news about 2 male bodies being found in a mansion in the city that morning. The deceased were identified as Chen Zhengguo, the president of the Jiangcheng Chamber of Commerce, and his son, Chen Feng. The police initially confirmed that it was a case of intentional homicide. While the man behind their deaths seems calm, his benefactor looks shocked to the core. She explains that she's been worried about the Chen family's revenge these past few days, but he cuts in, saying that some people do bad things and make enemies everywhere, so deaths like these are normal. In a surprising turn of events, he admits that he killed them and is, in fact, a top killer. But she doesn't believe him, telling him not to talk nonsense. After this, she says she's going to try on her clothes and asks him not to peek. Later that night, he takes a walk on the beach near their apartment, thinking about using the medicinal items he purchased from a nearby pharmacy for cultivation that night. Peacefully walking along the beach, he bumps into the police officer he met during the Chen family incident. Remembering how tiresome their last encounter was, he thinks it's better to stay less involved with her. He tells the officer that he's busy right now and excuses himself. However, she doesn't let him leave so easily and inquires about what happened to the Chen family. She provokes him by saying that she never imagined a strong man like him would be the trash of the late Ye family. This angers him so much that he grabs her by the neck and chokes her. She has practiced some ancient martial arts, but she is unable to resist him. She tells him that there are some things she can't tell him for now, but at the moment she just wants to have a meal with him. He rejects her request, backs down a little, and says that he will eat with his benefactor instead. He then proceeds to walk away. Watching him leave, she thinks that, at his age, the best time to practice ancient martial arts has long passed. Even if he had cultivated non-stop for the past 5 years, she doubts he could have become this strong. After returning to the apartment, he uses the microwave to perform alchemy while Yi is peacefully asleep. However, an ordinary microwave is not meant for this, which makes him think that he should have brought his master's alchemy furnace with him. Out of the several ingredients he uses to create the ultimate pills, he succeeds in making only 5, but those are more than enough to treat Shen Haihua. The next morning, Yi wakes up to find her flatmate getting ready to leave early. Curious about where he's headed, she asks him and hears him say that he's going to save lives. She has a different picture of him in her head. He talks nonsense all day, and his image is far from that of a doctor. However, he has the formula for the beauty elixir, which makes her think that maybe he really does know some medical skills. Looking at the time, she thinks that it will soon be the anniversary of the deaths of the 3 members of the Ye family. Since she always goes to pay them a visit at their graves, she guesses that this year she will be going alone again. But even after all these years, she still doesn't know why they were suddenly wiped out. Outside the apartment, Jiajia can be seen waiting at the entrance for Chen. Seeing her all alone, 2 strangers assume she's waiting for a friend, a woman, and think about approaching her. One of the guys says that a rich lady like her wouldn't wait for just any man. She looks spoiled, and whoever drives a BMW must be confident and self-sufficient, not the type to be desperate over a guy. The other dude looks impressed by his friend's analysis, calling it reasonable. But at that exact moment, Chen arrives and tells them that their analysis is wrong. Instead of arguing, they ask him for more details on why it's wrong. He explains that he's saying it based on a hunch. But the big guy argues that he knows better because he's a god of love who has had relationships with hundreds of beautiful girls in video games, and he and his friend don't want to be looked down upon. Chen once again tells them that they don't understand women. However, he adds that he's sure of one thing: he knows that the girl is waiting for him. The fools refuse to believe him once again, telling him to look in the mirror if he wants to pick up girls. A beauty who drives a luxury car wouldn't wait for a loser like him. Right then, Jiajia spots Chen and rushes over to him, telling him that she's been waiting there for a very long time. When she reaches him and grabs his hand, the 2 guys who are making fun of him are left shocked. When she notices the other 2 men, she asks Chen if they are his friends. However, after learning that they aren't, she tells him to be careful around this place because here there are many strange people. Arriving at the Shen family house, Chen gives those medicinal pills to Haihua. The Shen family wasn't expecting such an ordinary method of treatment. They thought it would involve decoctions or acupuncture. His wife is also fine with her husband undergoing surgery. But Chen doesn't make it overly complicated and simply tells the family head to swallow all 5 pills at once. The moment he swallows them, a rich medicinal fragrance blooms throughout his body. He feels as if his entire body is wrapped in a warm current, and it is unprecedentedly relaxing. He feels stronger than he did when he was younger. After rejoicing for a brief moment, the family head thanks him and says that he will never forget his life-saving grace. He then gives him 100 million as compensation. Chen gladly accepts the money, saying that it is simply a deal. He saves people for money, and that he shouldn't be thanked for it. To Chen's surprise, Haihua proceeds to give him even more, his property next to the Metropolitan Apartments, which has been left vacant and is going to waste. He gives the keys to the apartment to Chen, telling him to accept it, and also invites him to have dinner with him. The family head savior is sure that this property being gifted to him is going to be very useful. It will also be convenient for storing medicinal herbs. At that moment, he suddenly remembers that Haihua is a member of the business circle, which means he must know a lot of business intelligence, including information about the likes of Tianzheng Group. Tianzheng Group, originally founded by his father, was his father's lifelong effort, but soon after his family's accident, it became the subject of property fraud and corporate hijacking. He tried to inquire about the whereabouts of Tianzheng Group, but during his initial efforts, he couldn't find any information. However, he believes that if anyone knows something, it might be Shen Haihua. Chen responds to the Shen family head's offer, saying that he will accept the house as a gift. As for dinner, however, he will be the one treating him. He will decide the place, and the dinner will be tomorrow night. Inviting the old man, Chen asks just to confirm whether he's free, and Haihua replies that he's free and it would be an honor to join him tomorrow for a meal. A few days have passed, and Chen is back at the Rendezvous Hall, the biggest pharmacy in Jiangcheng. Zhu Rend has arranged the medicines for him that were not available in large quantities before. The old man informs him that these herbs are fresh and have excellent medicinal effects. After checking them out, Chen finds that they are even better than he imagined, both in terms of freshness and age. Satisfied with the quality of the herbs, he asks to settle the bill. The old man remarks that Chen might not agree with this, but he would like to charge him only 5 million. According to his research on the Chinese medicine market these days, this is nowhere near the actual cost. In fact, they would be taking a loss on these herbs, because they are worth at least tens of millions. He feels it's not good to owe others favors, but for now, he accepts it. Since Zixuan is nowhere to be seen, he asks the old man about his granddaughter. Rende reveals that she went hiking with her master today, but if she were here, he would have wanted her to serve Chen tea as an apology. Chen says that's not necessary, and casually takes out a notebook and a pen, then starts scribbling something in it. He tears out a page with something written on it and hands it to the old man, telling him to pass it on to his granddaughter when she returns. And if she doesn't understand it, he should give it to her master, telling him that it is very important to her. The old man agrees to pass it on. Looking at the piece of paper, he secretly feels that Chen is returning the favor. After this, Chen asks Rende if he knows a place where he can buy an alchemy furnace. He's considering purchasing one because it is really difficult to use an induction cooker to make pills. The old man is astonished to hear that Chen can make pills. Rumor has it that Chinese alchemists have disappeared for thousands of years. Although there are some pills on the market, those are thousands of years old. Some can even be auctioned for hundreds of millions. There are still alchemists in this world, but they are astronomically rare. With the help of an alchemist, any ancient martial arts family can grow into a top Chinese family in less than 3 years. Thinking about it, Rende realizes that the young man has bought so many medicinal materials, and he begins to suspect that they may be for alchemy. If that is true, then Chen's value is far beyond the old man's imagination. Chen, having accidentally spoken aloud, pretends not to know how to make pills. He claims to have a habit of collecting alchemy furnaces. The old man says that if he's that interested in collecting alchemy furnaces, then he should accompany them to a large auction taking place in 5 days. There will certainly be an alchemy furnace there. Before leaving, Chen replies that he will go. For now, he just wants the medicine delivered to his apartment in Dadu. Sometime later, Zixuan returns from hiking along with her master. Her grandfather asks, just to make sure, whether she caused any trouble for her master. He brings up how she offended Chen the last time, and that he had even asked her to stay and make amends, but she didn't listen and ran away early in the morning. The granddaughter becomes annoyed upon hearing her grandfather talk about Ye Chen. She says that he's the person he talks about all day, and that her master is much better than him. Her master can break a giant tree with a single palm strike. Zixuan's master states that she's not allowed to talk nonsense, because there are people outside who certainly surpass him, including the person being mentioned in the conversation. Rende doesn't intend to argue with her and proceeds to give her the torn piece of paper that Chen asked him to pass on. But when she tries to read what's written on it, she's unable to understand it. She throws the paper away, saying that the handwriting is too ugly. Before it can fall to the ground, her master catches it. Upon reading it, he becomes so shocked that he starts shouting that it was written by an absolute master. He turns to his apprentice's grandfather and asks him to take him to this expert, because he has been very kind to both him and Zixuan. The granddaughter and her grandfather ask him what's written on the paper out of pure curiosity, prompting him to reveal everything about it. The master first enlightens them about his signature cultivation technique, which he also taught to his student. It's called the Qiang Heart Method, which he obtained by accident when he was young. However, it is an incomplete technique. When he first started practicing it, his strength increased greatly, and he experienced a qualitative leap in his realm. However, the more he practiced it, the more the technique started to become a problem. It even affected his internal organs. Zixuan understands this well, because she also experiences an inexplicable sense of discomfort whenever she practices too much. She wonders if this incomplete technique has backfired. Her master tells her that she doesn't have to be afraid. His intention was simply to teach her some skills. Furthermore, her cultivation is not deep, so it doesn't affect her. On the contrary, if he continues to practice the Qiang Heart Method, he may die of organ failure unless he abolishes his cultivation. The old man, Rende, can't think of any way to save his granddaughter's master. Lao Qin has been protecting their family, and once something happens to him, the Zhu family will definitely be affected. However, with a smile, the master remarks that this was the case before. Now, this piece of paper is actually filled with insights. It's a stroke of genius, and from now on, there will be no more backlash. Now that even her master has acknowledged Ye Chen's greatness and called him a noble person, Zixuan becomes curious about who Chen really is. Arriving at the Dadu Villa area, Chen is baffled by the size of the property. He was expecting a house, but it turned out to be a villa. He enters his new home to properly check it out, and after a quick inspection, he finds that the furniture is already fully furnished. The old man, Haihua, has been quite thoughtful, which means Chen doesn't have to go through all that trouble himself. But in such a big house, he will have to live all alone, which seems a little lonely, even to him. He thinks it would have been nice if Sun Yi were here, living with him. She told him early that morning that she had to return to her hometown for some business, and might not be back by nightfall. Back then, although his house was smaller than this one, his family of 3 lived happily and harmoniously. It used to be very lively, but now he's the only one left. Tomorrow is the death anniversary of his parents, and he's determined to take revenge for their deaths. He crawled out of the darkness of death just to carry the head of the man who killed them to their graves. A moment later, the medicinal materials arrive at his doorstep, and the delivery workers begin unloading them. He feels lucky to have been given this villa at such a time. Otherwise, there really would have been no place to store the enormous quantity of herbs. The Zhu family head and his granddaughter also arrive there in person to ensure that the medicine is delivered to the right place. Rende tells Chen to let him know if he needs anything else. This is also Chen's first time meeting Zixuan's master, who doesn't hesitate to show him respect. He thanks the Zhu family head for coming in person, and then invites them inside. However, before he can say much to the ancient martial artist, the old man suddenly urges him to accept his gratitude for saving his life, shocking both Chen and his student. Her master first introduces himself and then explains to his benefactor that, thanks to the revisions to the Qiang Heart Method, he was not only able to break through his bottleneck, but also avoid the danger of backlash. From now on, he will regard Chen as his benefactor and address him as Grandmaster Ye. The benefactor says that it's all trivial, but there is one thing he's curious about. He wants to know why he's being called a Grandmaster. wondering whether it's because that title is the highest one. Scratching his head, he pretends to have come down from the mountains and says that he doesn't know much about Chinese martial arts, which is exactly why he wants to be enlightened. Zixuan's master believes him. He thinks that if Master Ye were cultivating in the mountains, it is indeed very likely that he wouldn't know. The martial artist begins his explanation, revealing that in the Huaxia martial arts system, there are 4 levels: external strength, internal strength, half-step transformation, and master of transformation. Each level is divided into 3 stages: minor, major, and peak. He uses Zixuan and Ye as an example for comparison. While she is only just entering the stage of internal strength, Master Ye is a master of the realm of transformation, someone whom countless martial arts powerhouses look up to. Chen realizes that the division of realms is different from what his master told him, but that is normal. The techniques he practices are not on the same level as the martial arts techniques found on the surface of Huaxia. Each realm is divided into 9 layers, and there are even more terrifying realms beyond the highest realm, the spiritual realm. However, he can't reach that level yet. He's currently on the 5th layer of the Kaiyuan realm. According to Qin Yuanming, China's martial arts masters should be somewhere between the Kaiyuan realm and the pneumatic realm. Even though they are somewhat closer to him in terms of cultivation level, they are much stronger than he initially thought. He asks Zixuan's master whether there are many masters in China. The martial artist replies that he doesn't know the exact number, but he's sure that most of them have connections with powerful Chinese families. Although this is now the era of science, technology, and the legal system, those who truly hold power usually have strong martial artists around them. From strongest to weakest, the 4 major families in Jiangcheng are the Chu family, the Zhao family, the Lu family, and lastly, the Chen family. Even the Chen family, the weakest family in Jiangcheng, had an old man who was a grandmaster in seclusion. Unfortunately, they were destroyed by someone a few years ago and were kicked out and replaced by the Wan family. He remembers being threatened by Zheng Guo before he died, but it's not clear when the old man of the Zheng family will come after him. Among the many families in Jiangcheng, the person who impressed him the most was Xu Ran of the Chu family. If it weren't for her humiliation back then, he wouldn't have been devastated and branded as a waste. But now it's time for the ultimate revenge. His goal is to show her that he has become an unattainable existence. Meanwhile, noticing the terrifying aura around him, Zixuan's master becomes startled, because it shows that he has the blood of many people on his hands. Moreover, to have developed such skills at such a young age, the ancient martial artist is certain that he must have gone through a lot. It's been some time since Yi left the apartment, and Chen has tried to reach her several times, but she hasn't answered any of his calls. This situation is making him uneasy, and he's beginning to suspect that something may have happened back home. If he doesn't hear from her by tomorrow, he will make an effort to find her. For now, he thinks about finding an eatery for dinner first. Luckily, there's a seafood stall by the roadside. It's the stall of his good old friend, Wang Yuheng. This place is filled with memories. The food here was so good that he used to eat it all the time when he was in school. He can't believe it's still open after all these years. Not to mention, the reason he became friends with Yuheng in the first place was that he used to come here so often. Even during the times when he was at his worst, his friend stood by him. Back when he used to come here, this place used to be booming. He wonders why there is no one here now. Nonetheless, he takes a seat and asks for this place's signature skewers and a bottle of drink. Unfortunately, an old lady approaches him and apologizes, informing him that they are going to close the stall and that he should go somewhere else to eat. She reveals that they are moving today, and if he has a chance, he should come and visit them at their new shop. He feels that something is wrong here. This shop has been here for more than 10 years, but they are suddenly leaving now. Another thing that gives him a strange feeling is the bandage on her face. She seems to have been assaulted by someone. However, her husband shows kindness by presenting him with a plate of skewers. He also tells his wife not to rush the guest. The owner Wang says that if the young man wants to be their last guest, then he will give him what he wants. Chen notices a bandage on Wang's face and recalls how affectionate the couple used to be. However, he still doesn't think this could be a case of domestic violence. Meanwhile, Wang tells him that he can leave after eating and that they won't charge him. Though, he has to finish quickly. They want to close the shop as soon as possible. Unable to resist the nostalgic aroma coming from the food, he tries to dig into his meal, only to sense some kind of uncanny disturbance. However, his ability to evade danger allows him to react quickly. When a chair is thrown at him while he's enjoying his food, he immediately responds by breaking it into pieces. The people who threw the chair at him are a group of thugs who, like Chen, seem to have memories attached to this place. However, they are far from nice people. The thugs tell him to hurry up and get out, saying that the shop is closed. The leader of the gang, named Tiger, confronts the owners, asking the couple how they dared serve customers without paying their protection fee. He grabs Wang by the collar to threaten him. However, the owner courageously tells him that their small business can't afford to pay him. Tiger reveals that he knows about their secret. He has already inquired about their new address. If they don't pay $50,000 in protection fees by tomorrow, he and his goons will smash up both them and their new store. The thug gang tells Chen that their business here is done, so they can also leave now. However, he replies that he never told them to leave. Tiger thinks he didn't hear it right and asks again for confirmation if the young brother was talking to him. In response, Chen says that if he's not talking to him, then is he talking to a dog? And this is the boiling point for the enemy, who tries to intimidate him with his craziness. Surprisingly, he's slapped and told by the Grandmaster himself that it's none of his business. The slap knocks out the thug gang leader. It was so fast that the other thugs didn't even see how it hit their leader. Having been humiliated by a nobody, the prideful gang leader jumps at him, only to get smacked again. But this time, he's plummeted into the ceiling with his face buried deep in it and his body hanging. Now that the gang leader is knocked out, Chen commands the minions to crawl and roll on the ground by themselves. He warns them that if he sees them here again, he won't be so easy on them next time. It has been some time since Chen gave the thug gang a whooping, and the thugs are kneeling before him, asking for forgiveness and promising not to do it again. He gives them a fair warning that if he ever sees them on the street again, it won't be good for them. Once they leave, he looks around the place and realizes that he's made a mess in the store. He could have had those jerks clean it up before they left. Wang and his wife have recognized him by now and ask him if he's Akin. They have teary eyes seeing him and remark that they are happy to see him alive. He is also shocked by the fact that they remember him. They admit that he's grown taller and stronger, so much so that they didn't recognize him. After this, he leaves for the Dadu apartment, where he fortunately finds her and asks why she isn't responding to his calls. He tells her about the seafood stall and invites her out. But all this time, she was showing her back to him, and when he turned around, he saw Jiaruok Shui. However, since he has never seen her before, he doesn't recognize her. She finds this ironic, reminding him that he's made a huge deal at her company's desk before, but now he can't recognize her when he sees her. He finds her sudden arrival a little sketchy, so he asks her why she is here. She explains that Sun Yi and she are best friends, and she used to come to her house to play with her when they were kids. Her best friend gave her the key for convenience. She asks him about his relationship with her. He simply tells her that he has no place to live, so she is his landlord now. This is his first time seeing Jiaruoxu. The reason he came to Jiangcheng was because of her in the first place. His master asked him to save her, and although she looks normal, she doesn't look like she's in danger. Giving him a side eye, she smirks and says he's got more guts than she thought. He tells her that Sun Yi is not at home right now, so she should talk to her at the office. Seeing him treat this place like his own annoys her a little bit. She reveals that she hasn't been able to reach her and didn't even see her at today's high-level meeting. She asks him if he has any idea where she went. This makes him a bit worried, because if even Jiaruok Shui can't get in touch with her, it just shows that something really happened to Sun Yi. He feels that something is definitely wrong and that he should find her. Looking all worked up, he proceeds toward the exit. Sha tries to stop him from leaving, but he says that it's none of her business. She reminds him of how he was looking for her before, but now that she's here in front of him, he's leaving. He turns around and tells her not to follow him. Chen is the first person who has dared to say something like that to her. She doesn't understand why he's so full of himself. It's just that he has that broken prescription in his hand. She once had a private investigator look into him, but there was no information about him. This can only explain one thing. His information is protected by a higher authority and cannot be accessed by ordinary people. People like him are of great use to the group, but he looks at her as if she's a plague. She has to endure it, even if it's unpleasant. She left the Xia family to start her own business in Jiangcheng to prove herself and not get carried away. After all, he was the one who approached her first. Jiangcheng is so large, and Chen doesn't have his own intelligence network, so finding Sun Yi alone would be too difficult. Even if he finds her, it may already be too late. He doesn't want to get involved with Jiaruok Shu again, but he has no choice, so he calls her for help. Chen has dialed the number of someone whose contact information is known to only 6 people in the world. Surprisingly enough, when the person picks up the phone, he's shocked to hear the Grandmaster's voice. Chen first warns him not to even check his number, and adds that if he finds out that his organization or people have arranged anyone by his side, he will ruin everything he has given her, including her life. After delivering his warning to the person on the other side, he asks for help finding someone, and gives him the basic information about Sun Yi, her name, where she works, and how long it has been since he lost contact with her. He demands to know everything within the next 5 minutes and immediately cuts the call afterward. The investigator has kept this phone for about 3 years, and he has been looking forward to this moment every day and every night. The Grandmaster has finally called him. It turns out that this man is his student, as he murmurs with a smile, "Master." Sometime later, the Grandmaster receives a call back from his apprentice and is informed that he has found some information on Sun Yi. She left the apartment at 11:35 noon and drove to Jiangcheng 5th People's Hospital in a car with the license plate Jiang 180TS. The car is still parked in the hospital parking lot. Apparently, his intel reported that her brother was admitted to the hospital, and 15 minutes before her arrival, his condition worsened, and he needed surgery that cost 700,000 yuan. To sort out the money, Yi contacted 3 different people, The first one was a mortgage company. She also sold her car for 50,000 wen so that she could pay for the surgery. The investigator claims to have more detailed information, but his master tells him that there's no need to send it anymore. Something did happen to her, and that much he already knew, but he's glad to know where she is. At Zhengcheng 5th People's Hospital, Sun Yi, worried about her brother's condition and the money needed for his surgery, has already withdrawn all of her savings. She has sold her car, but there is still 300,000 wen left to pay for her brother Haozi's surgery. She's really worried about the remaining sum, wondering if there is no other way. Yi's parents, her father Sun Yonggui and her mother Zhang Yunlan, are just as worried as she is. Her father reveals that all the money in the family has also been taken out, so they can only borrow it from Yi's second uncle, who is a wealthy businessman. Her mother has already called him, so he should be arriving soon. Yi's second uncle is the richest in the family, and all these years he has looked down on her family, so she doesn't want to beg him for money. Just as she's thinking about him, her uncle arrives with his wife dressed in designer clothes. Her uncle Fu is startled by Yi's beauty. It's been a few years since he last saw her, but she has already grown into a beautiful young woman. Her father, Gui, tells his second brother that they already know the situation, so there's nothing they can do about it. They want their son saved and promise to pay him back. However, the response from Fu wasn't what Yi's family was hoping to hear. He claims that his business is not doing well and that he doesn't have any extra money to give them. Had this happened earlier, he could have supported them, but he can't right now. Deep down, he fears that if he lends them money, they won't be able to repay him. Yi lets her second uncle know that if her brother's surgery doesn't happen, they are going to lose him. Her uncle's wife, Dong Kaiju, reminds her husband of the conversation they had with a guest last night. He joked about introducing his boss's son to someone, and now they have that someone. Yi is very beautiful, and if they marry her off to his boss's foolish son, his promotion is almost guaranteed. Fu didn't think of that. Although his boss's son is not normal, Sun Yi would still be a suitable partner for him, especially if it helps with his promotion. His wife asks Yi if she has a boyfriend, to which she responds with a no. Her aunt calls it a good thing and then pretends to care about her brother's life, saying that the most important thing right now is saving him and that there is a way to get the money. Curious about this offer, the girl asks her aunt what she is talking about, prompting her to reveal her true motivations. Kaiju explains that the son of businessman Li from Hengsheng Group is looking for a partner, and if she marries into their family, not only will her brother's treatment be taken care of, but the whole Sun family will have to count on her. Guy can't believe that such an offer is being made here, an offer where his daughter is going to be sold. His wife also remarks that they can't let her down again. She's dropped out of school to work and has sacrificed too much for this family. However, the second uncle's wife tells them that they aren't selling their daughter by marrying her off. Everything depends on Yi's own choice. Haozi is only 14 years old, and he has many years left to live. She asks them if they can bear to watch him die. She speaks in a deceptive way to get into their heads, especially to manipulate Yi into not rejecting the offer. Guy mourns over his failures. He can't make money, and now he has to watch his daughter suffer. Her parents question if this is the fate of their family. The second uncle adds that it's a good thing to marry into a rich family. They will never be short of money again. Abruptly, Chen arrives and shouts, asking who is marrying someone off. Walking swiftly, he calls his flatmate a silly girl and questions why she hid her brother's illness from him. Yi's parents are shocked as well. They have never heard her mention that she has a boyfriend. He gets close to her and tells her parents that she's too shy to speak about him. While this leaves his flatmate all flustered, the second uncle and his wife are not pleased at all. They point out that Yi just said she doesn't have a boyfriend, so they wonder where he came from and why he's pretending to be her boyfriend. Seeing that the antagonists don't believe him, he turns to his girlfriend and points at his cheek, asking her to kiss him there so that the ignorant people can be convinced. Since this bad guy came all the way here to help her out of trouble, she wants to cooperate. Even though it's embarrassing, she pulls him closer and kisses him on the cheek, convincing her uncle and aunt that they indeed have a relationship going on. However, her uncle still doesn't give up on marrying her off, so he reminds her of how large the operation fee is. Not all men can afford it. Chen replies that it's not a big amount, it's just 400,000 yuan, and he's already paid it on his way here. Expectedly, they don't believe him and demand that he show them the receipt one gets after making the payment. In reality, he was in a hurry to get here, so he didn't have time to pay. He lies, saying that the money was directly handed over to the top doctor in Jiangcheng, Dr. Ye. Kaiju says that she's never heard of that name and suspects that Dr. Ye is Chen himself, and they start making fun of him. He thinks that this woman is as good as a detective, because it's nearly impossible to fool her. But when Yi's uncle and aunt start causing a scene, the hospital staff steps in to stop them. The doctor in charge of this case and operation is Dr. Q, the same doctor who was treating the Shen family head. Fu rushes to greet him, saying it's been a long time since they last met. However, when Chu spots Chen, he pushes Yi's uncle aside with quite some force and rushes to shake hands with him. He expresses gratitude to the Grandmaster for opening his eyes the last time they met. Such a big name showing respect to him is a big deal, and everyone in the room is utterly dumbfounded by it. Meanwhile, the Grandmaster hasn't recognized the doctor yet and is wondering who this person is. Chen asks the doctor if they have met before, prompting the doctor to explain that he was at the Shen family head's house, treating Haihua. He finally recognizes him and is glad that the doctor is not a fraud. He thought he was a quack who only fooled rich people. Fu calls out the doctor for saying that Chen is a miracle doctor, because in his eyes, this nobody is a charlatan in every sense of the word. He thinks that the doctor is just being polite, while the kid is being disrespectful. Dr. Q turns around, facing Fu's way, asks the Grandmaster about the person in front of him, and learns that it's just a noisy stranger. This is enough to make the doctor call security and kick Yi's uncle and aunt out for disturbing the patients. While having a grin on his face, he remarks that these two people may have been infected with the rabies virus, and to prevent the spread of the virus, he says that the two patients should be placed in humanitarian confinement. Chen has quite a few praiseworthy words to say about the doctor's ruthless methods. Although his medical expertise is average, his methods are on the next level. Afterwards, Yi approaches her flatmate and asks for his help. She says that they will make up for the surgery. Finding out that the man he admires deeply is the boyfriend of his patient's attendant, Dr. Q decides to take responsibility for Haoji's surgery. Before going to the operating theater to operate, he asks the Grandmaster what he thinks about the treatment he's giving the young man of the Sun family. Chen replies that he's doing a good job and further gives him a set of introductory needle techniques that can greatly improve his medical skills. He writes these techniques on the spot as they are chatting. As he reads the set of introductory needle techniques, his reaction reveals that he's reading something extraordinary. The Grandmaster has written him the long-lost Qi blood needles. With his guidance, the doctor is certain that his medical skills will definitely improve. Chen takes out his card and questions what the remaining fee for the surgery is, prompting him to use it to pay. However, the doctor refuses to take it, reassuring him that he will take care of everything. His arrival has changed everything. Yi's parents are wondering just who her boyfriend is. Later that night, when her parents are leaving the hospital to go home and rest, they warn her that living under the same roof will have a lot of inconveniences. Her father further adds that as long as they are not married, she must take safety measures to prevent something extreme from happening. Yi becomes quite flustered by those comments from her father and tells him that he's talking nonsense. To make it even more embarrassing for her, her acting boyfriend shows her a thumbs up, remarking that he can't believe her father is so open-minded. His comment on this makes her even more embarrassed. She wasn't expecting him to eavesdrop, but he claims that it's just that his hearing is good. She doesn't want to talk about this anymore and says that they should just go and take the car back. Right then, she suddenly remembers that her car has been mortgaged, so she will take time off tomorrow to see if she can get it back. While she believes she's mortgaged her car, he pulls out her car keys, saying it never got mortgaged. He says that as her acting boyfriend, he had to get it back. This is enough to get her emotional. To his surprise, she unexpectedly rushes to hug him. Embracing her, he replies that it's actually he who should be thanking her. On their way to the metropolitan apartment, Yi asks her boyfriend if she's curious about one thing. Why does he want to help her so much? Is it because she let him stay at her house? He simply replies that maybe she will find out the reason by tomorrow, so she should look forward to it. Yi suddenly feels cold and informs Chen about this, believing it's because the heater is not working. However, in reality, this is the killing qi that has changed the temperature in the atmosphere, and he immediately recognizes it. He tells her not to question anything he says, and to listen carefully to every word he says next. Without making her slow down the car, he opens the door, planning to jump out. But before he does that, he gives her instructions to go back to the apartment at full speed once he jumps out, and strictly tells her not to stop for even a second. Once she reaches the apartment, she must grab his cell phone and hide in his room. Lastly, she should dial the most recent number in the call logs. When the call goes through, she must ask the person on the line to send his best men to her house within half an hour. If anyone breaks in within those 30 minutes, she must not resist and must surrender. He will come to her rescue when he's done with his business. This is a fight between martial artists, and it is too much for ordinary people to handle. Sun Yi will only be in more danger if she stays with him. It seems impossible to fight Chen alone, and it is more convenient to have your own force, and that's exactly what the enemy is doing. He's up against two people, but one of them is a threat that clearly stands out, and he seems to know Chen through and through. The Grandmaster says that if he's not mistaken, he remembers seeing this man intervening in the Yunhu Villa incident. He now presumes that the enemy is here to silence him today. The martial artist confronting him, named Yao Jinggu, calls him a waste of a man who doesn't even deserve to be silenced by him. He commands his driver, Huang Qing, to kill the Ye family's remnant. The driver charges immediately and starts swinging his arms, attempting to strike him down, but he's not able to land a single punch, and the Grandmaster counters with a punch to his face, knocking him out instantly. His boss, Yao, wasn't expecting much from his driver. The man has been defeated with just a single punch. The main threat acknowledges how much the Grandmaster has achieved with his years of training, 5 years exactly. He further reveals that 5 years ago, he was the one who led people to kill his family, and now he will be killing him as well. Yao's driver was quite a formidable fighter, but he was knocked out by the trash of the Ye family. This means Chen still has some skills. The Grandmaster asks him what he's trying to say, and the enemy says that he wants him to be his dog, to replace his assistant and driver. The Grandmaster casually tells him that he thinks too highly of himself, even though he has trash skills. Chen comments that he's not weak and unleashes pressure so enormous that the enemy is convinced it's the Grandmaster level, even though such a young Grandmaster can't exist in China. He's practiced for over 40 years and spent countless resources, and he's not even reached the Grandmaster level. The fear starts getting the better of the enemy. He notices his hand shaking, which enrages him since he wasn't expecting this. He says that he doesn't know what evil method Chen used to reach such a level in just a few years. Even so, the gap in experience is unbridgeable, but the Grandmaster just has to laugh about this. With that, the fight between them begins, and the old martial artist goes toe-to-toe with someone inexperienced and very young. Surprisingly, the old man even manages to scratch his hand, forcing him to back off. The old man, with a smile, commends Chen for managing to block all his strikes, but he points out that his slender hands can't block them for much longer. The Grandmaster admits he underestimated his enemy and got scratches on his hand as a result, but those small scratches can't do any harm to him. Right after he finishes speaking, the enemy starts bleeding from the eyes and coughs up blood as well. It turns out that he broke his finger in this clash with him. The Grandmaster also has a little laugh thinking about the experience the enemy was talking about. After this, something snaps in him, and his thirst for revenge becomes extreme, so he jumps at Yao to take revenge for his parents. Going for a hard hit, Chen jumps into the air. However, this makes him vulnerable, or so the enemy thinks. The young man will have nowhere to hide in the air, and all the old man thinks he has to do is focus all his true energy on his hand. He's certain he can take his opponent down and attempts to cut him down with his big nails, which extend a few inches. However, the enemy is surprised once again when he cuts through the Grandmaster's legs, only to discover that it is an illusion condensed from evil spirits. This is such a high level of martial arts for the martial artist Yao that he simply can't comprehend it, and before he knows it, Chen ambushes him while his guard is down, and he's completely dismantled. The Grandmaster doesn't think that the enemy is at a level where he is worthy of being called a master. He grabs the enemy by the head and asks him to answer some of his questions with the utmost honesty, and he can consider sparing his life. First things first, he wants to know how Yao knew about his existence, and how many people know about him so far. The martial artist says that he's going to cooperate as he begs for mercy. However, the enemy's stupid grin and the delivery of his last sentence make Chen angry, who has to remind the enemy that he's not in a position to make a deal with him. The martial artist explains that the other day he found out that someone retrieved Chen's information through the dark web database. He became curious about him, so he also sent someone to collect the information from that database and found some footage and pictures. After comparing the evidence with the Ye family's deceased Ye Chen, his suspicion rose because the likelihood of them being the same person was high. Claiming to be the type who never takes threats or any sort of danger for granted, he came to eliminate him. After all, the Master Dragon once said that the Ye family could not stay alive. The Grandmaster doesn't know who Master Dragon is, but he's certain that man is the one who took everything away from him. He stomps on the old man and asks him about the whereabouts of the Dragon Master and his real identity. Yao says that the real name of the master is not something he should know. He only knows that the entire ancient martial arts community, and even the families in the capital, have to respectfully refer to him as the Dragon Master. As for Chen's existence, the old man didn't have the opportunity to inform him. He's not even qualified to know where he is, meaning he doesn't have the authority to speak directly to the Dragon Master. After this, he demands to know why an authority of such status and caliber wanted to destroy his Ye family at Cloud Lake Villa. The old man reveals that he vaguely remembers that the Dragon Master seemed to be looking for something, and all the clues and whereabouts of his findings linked directly to the Ye family. This revelation makes him wonder whether it is the stone that his father gave him. He thinks that if there's anything in his family that can attract such a big shot, he's afraid it's only the reincarnation graveyard inside the stone. Before his life leaves his body, Yao giggles as he reveals that his men are at his girlfriend's apartment, and he dares him to kill him if he wants to see his girl dead. However, the Grandmaster doesn't hesitate and crushes his face with his foot. Meanwhile, Yi arrives at her boyfriend's new apartment and attempts to rush inside, feeling a sinister energy watching her. Once she's inside, she rushes to Chen's room and uses his phone to make a call. She informs the other person on the line, her boyfriend's apprentice, about the situation, and asks him to send his strongest men here within half an hour to protect her. Yao's minions have arrived outside the Dadu apartment, wearing a strange black and red color scheme masks to eliminate Yi. They are tasked to annihilate any obstacle in their path, even the witnesses. Meanwhile, having informed her boyfriend's apprentice about her situation and about her boyfriend's message, she wonders if that was the police she called. However, whether that was the police or not doesn't concern her, she just wants someone to help her. The investigator seems insanely enraged because people close to his master are in danger in his presence. He immediately summons his forces and commands them to go to Jiangcheng. If anything were to happen to that woman, he wouldn't allow them to return with their heads attached to their bodies. He will also go to Jiangcheng with them and issue the order to prepare the helicopter. One of his men doesn't fancy their boss joining them because tomorrow he has to be there for the final negotiation with the 6 families. The situation in Jiangnan province is at stake. However, he says that he's not going, and if those people are not convinced, they can go to the Qianlong building in person and find him. Meanwhile, Yao's men break into the Dadu apartment to kill Yi. She's also frightened, hiding inside her boyfriend's room. Inside his room, she's safe because he's put some kind of protective barrier on the door. However, the danger still exists, as the enemy's troops have already figured out where she's hidden and are just outside Chen's room. They ask her to be a good girl and come out, and they will let her die without making her feel pain. However, another argues that they should slowly torture her. But then the person in charge of this mission tells them to drop the idea of killing her. They haven't been able to reach Yao for a while and suspect that the situation has changed, and keeping her alive might be more useful. Though, the leader isn't stopping them from having fun, which is all that the enemy cares about. The perverted personnel in the group are pretty excited now that they have something to benefit from. They start banging on the door once again, but aren't able to harm it, even when the strongest of the melee fighters attempts to break it. The leader senses strong chi being wielded by the door, and before he knows it, one of his men who kicked the door finds his hand getting burned by the blue flame. Following this, the flame grows and engulfs his entire body. The people that Yao sent are on the losing end, despite Chen not being there. One of the enemies who kicked the door and got the flames on his body dies a painful death after shouting for help from his companions. The leader explains to his men that he's not sure what's been done to this door, but he's afraid it can't be broken by brute force. If they persist in trying to get inside, the evil energy on the door will react at similar levels, which could make it impossible for them to enter. The trouble they are facing has made them realize that the person Yao has sent them to kill is not ordinary. Since brute force won't work, the leader pulls out door lock opening tools. Meanwhile, hearing everything from inside the room, she assumes from the commotion earlier that someone is dead. Unfortunately for her, the assassins break into the room and seem mind-blown by her beauty. Before approaching her, one of the assassins reveals that they lost one of their brothers because of her. The leader warns his men not to go too far with whatever they are doing, as they need her alive. On the other hand, Yi thinks about the words her boyfriend told her about staying alive, not resisting, and surrendering. In this situation, where her life and chastity are on the line, she's hopeful that her flatmate will come to her rescue. Just in time, the investigator's best men arrive to protect her, and they make a grand entry by killing the guy who's trying to force himself on her. Since this was a stealth attack, the other assassins are shocked by the death of their companion. However, before they can make their move, more fatalities occur within their group. The assassins are panicking as they see their companions dropping one after another. Worried about their lives, they don't understand how they got into trouble with the king of Jiangnan. He's the most fearsome being in the whole Jiangnan province. Rumor has it that it is better to mess with all the top families in Jiangnan province than to offend the king of the underground. The assassins have no chance of winning this, so they surrender. But the damage is already done, and the investigators' men were commanded to get rid of all the threats, so the assassins are killed on the spot. Yi's rescuers reveal before her that they are Chen's people, asking her not to be worried. Elsewhere, at 3 a.m., the Grandmaster appears to be dragging Yao's half-body to the Tiandan Mountain Cemetery to visit his late parents, bringing the enemy to their grave to signify the revenge he's taken. Giving Yao a beating and teaching him a lesson, Chen orders him to kneel. The enemy claims to be a great master of his generation, so he can't kneel to a mere mortal. He would rather be killed than be humiliated like that. However, the Grandmaster won't leave him alone until he kneels, so he forcefully makes him kneel and plants his head onto the ground. After a few seconds of kneeling, the enemy lifts his head, but the way he raises it so quickly leaves Chen unsatisfied. The Grandmaster grabs him by the head and slams him face first into the ground near his parents' grave again and again. Once he's satisfied with the enemy's kneeling, he says that it's time to pay tribute. The Grandmaster goes wild after this. Not only does he kill Yao and offer his flesh to his parents in a bag, but he also calls this a beginning. He swears to personally send everyone involved in the Yunhu Villa incident to hell and make them pay for their sins. Later that morning, Yi arrives at the Tiandan Mountain Cemetery to pay respect to her acting boyfriend's parents. She's thinking about him as she's walking through the cemetery. At first, she thought he was a fraud. If he hadn't looked like her old deceased schoolmate, she wouldn't have taken him in the first place. However, to her surprise, when she reaches the exact spot where Chen's parents are buried, she sees him sleeping near their graves, calling his parents in his sleep, in a very soft, almost inaudible voice. She finally realizes that he's the Chen of the Ye family who was killed 5 years ago, and she thinks that she should have guessed that. Yi now understands why he was so close to her, always protecting her and solving her problems. She calls herself stupid for not realizing this sooner, because only he is the one who would do something like that for her. Imagining what he must have gone through in all these years to change that much, she hugs him in his sleep and tells him that now he doesn't have to go through all this alone anymore. She then talks to the graves of his parents, telling them how happy she is now that Chen has returned. She promises to take care of him. After all, he's gotten strong and needs someone to take care of him. Shortly after this, he opens his eyes and asks her why she's here, and then continues drinking alcohol. She tells him to stop drinking, as he's been doing that all night, and wants him to go back home with her. She says that his parents told her to keep an eye on him, so now he should go home, take a shower, and get some sleep. Her way of saying it makes her seem like she's his wife, which he also points out. However, she doesn't seem to blush as she usually does, and explains that his mom and dad wanted her to be their surrogate daughter-in-law until he finds a wife. In this moment, during this precious time, he thinks that perhaps his parents wanted to see him happy like right now, rather than have him take revenge for their murder. 3 hours later, a woman, likely Yao Jinggu's pupil, arrives at the cemetery and finds his remains. Last night, she kept having nightmares, and she came here on instinct. She is definitely shocked to discover what's happened to him. She wonders what kind of person could kill her master and sacrifice him. But then she reads the names on the tombstones and realizes that this is revenge. What's giving it away even more is the death of Zheng Guo and his son from the Chen family. Following this suspicion and a major clue, she gets the people working under her to investigate all the cameras around Tiandan Mountain immediately. She wants to know who came to the Ye family cemetery today, especially to the area where she's standing. Chen and his girlfriend are sleeping in his apartment, where he seems to be only in his underwear while she seems to be in a pajama suit. He opens his eyes, remembering that he drank too much last night. She also opens her eyes upon hearing someone knocking on their door. He blushes as soon as he sees her in his bed, rubbing her eyes and teases her for finally getting the urge to crave his body. She shouts at him that he was the one who drank too much and insisted on holding her while they slept together. She says that she still smells of alcohol. He questions why she can't hug him when she's his temporary wife. She says that it's not that she can't, but at least not when he's so drunk. After this, she tells him to check who's at the door while she's going to change her clothes. She can't meet anyone in the clothes she's wearing right now. He opens the door and finds Jia standing there. She reminds him about the dinner he has planned with her father and reveals that they weren't able to reach him by phone, so she says she had to come to him. Deep down, she's all flustered seeing him without a shirt. He gives her the time and the location to meet him, and later that day, at 7 p.m., the Shen family is on their way to number 14, Ceylon Lane, to have dinner at a restaurant with him. The father and daughter don't know about that place, but luckily their driver does, though he seems a little embarrassed when this address is mentioned. The head of the Shen family is fine as long as their driver knows the location, and judging by his driver's reaction, the old man assumes this place is going to be expensive, though he thinks it's worth it to treat Ye Chen. However, the driver reveals that it's a lesser-known street in Jiangcheng. There are only small, rundown stores that are mostly open for dinner, and the per capita consumption is generally lower than 30 yuan, meaning this place shouldn't be visited by the big shots like Haihua or his daughter. Jia can't help but smile and giggle, thinking about how that guy gets paid hundreds of millions of dollars for a consultation, yet he wants them to eat cheap snacks. She calls him stingy for that, but her father is optimistic about it, saying he's an expert, so maybe he simply likes this. Arriving at the location, a random small restaurant on number 14, Zilin Lane, their expensive limousine takes the shop owners aback. It turns out this is Wang and his wife's restaurant. Their food was very much liked by Chen, and now they have moved to this new location. Just as the hardworking folks are surprised by how expensive the car outside their restaurant is, their loyal guest Chen arrives with his acting girlfriend and asks them to get ready to prepare food for his guests. Wang wonders what kind of big shot their guest met, but he doesn't think too much about it and doesn't question anything. Haihua steps out of his car and says that he smells the scent he was expecting. Meanwhile, his daughter wonders why her father is making a big deal out of just the barbecue flavor of jintong. The owner of the restaurant invites his guests to come inside and have a seat, and once the food is ready, it's placed on their table. Jia, who was critical of this place, is surprised by how delicious the food is, especially the special skewers of this place, and they are also cheap in price. And while the family head also likes the food and its affordability, he believes this place is remote, and there's not much room for seating. This restaurant has only one table. What they need right now are customers, so he instructs his driver to ask the publicity department to make arrangements later. Even if this street were to become a popular snack street, he wants this store to be packed at mealtimes in the future. Wang and his wife are baffled to hear him do them such a favor with just one word. They know that this is all happening solely for Chen's sake. Their most important guest thanks Haihua on their behalf, and the family head calls him too polite for that. The old man knows that he wasn't just invited for dinner. There's more behind this. Chen remarks that Haihua is a business tycoon, so he won't waste his time and will cut straight to the point. He asks the family head if he knows anything about the Tianjin group. The old man is stunned by this question, but he decides to explain it to him anyway. 5 years ago, the Tianjin group was once the enterprise of the Ye family, with Ye Tianjin at the pivot point as its leader. However, the Yunhu Villa tragedy and the killing of the Ye family ended everything. Following that incident, the group's assets were restructured, borrowed against, and repackaged, making it hard to comprehend where that group is now. This simply means the group's existence has been erased completely. Haihua wonders why Grandmaster Chen is concerned about the Tianjin group, but then the Ye in his last name suddenly starts making sense. The old man realizes that the son of the late Ye family didn't die, and he came back with a bang. The Grandmaster deduces that Shen Haihua has already guessed the whole story, so he skips explaining it, and reveals that the only reason he came to ask him about the Tianjin group was that he wants to take back what rightfully belongs to him. The Grandmaster wants to find out where his father's enterprise is, and the old man reveals that he knows the group was divided 5 years ago, and the forces involved in the division are complicated. But the most important one is the Qinghe group, and the mastermind behind it is its leader, Zheng Jingming. That is one name Chen will never forget till the day he dies. Jingming is his father's old friend and the uncle he has always trusted the most, but it was he who personally handed over the invitation letter to Yunhu Villa to his father. Even when his father was killed, he was still smiling and trying to please the man from the capital. Seeing him all worked up because of this information, Yi extends her arm to check if he's fine, but he reassures her that there's nothing to worry about. Haihua can see that his savior doesn't know much about the situation, so he will compile a list of information about the Qinghe group for him with the help of his contacts, and then they will work together to take over Qinghe. Jiajia notices her father trembling and wonders if it's because he's nervous, but then she concludes that he's trembling because he wants to be linked to Chen. He's making up his mind as they speak. The Grandmaster reminds the old man of his own words. The old man called this a deep matter, so he asked him if he wasn't afraid that his whole family would be involved. Since the Shen family head is a businessman, he claims to always go for profit. He wants to get 10% of the profits and no real power. If Chen agrees, they can start immediately. Yi, as the director of Huamei Group, understands the business rules, and she reveals that Haihua's move is not profit-seeking, it is a way to tie himself to her acting boyfriend. The Grandmaster says that he will trouble the Shen family head with this offer, and since he's so sincere, it's just as well that he shouldn't be alone and may need some help. If the Shen family is in trouble, he's going to help them out. The old man is feeling the excitement of opening up a new territory, and if they succeed this time, his family will definitely take off. Later, after dinner, as Chen and his girlfriend are about to leave, he notices someone following them, but there is no killing intent. He deduces that it must be people sent by the king, his student, who were sent to protect Yi. On the way home, Yi tells him that she's running out of snacks at home and needs some more. She asks him if he wants some too, and even when he responds with a no, she decides to buy some anyway, in case someone gets hungry. As they are speaking, he thinks about calling King to thank him for his help, but aborts the idea when he thinks that meeting in person would be better. He ironically calls his student once again, but not to thank him over the phone. He knows that King is in Jiangcheng now, so he tells him to find a place to meet at 8 p.m. He wants some things to be clarified. King laughs on the phone with pure excitement, feeling happy because his master is finally willing to see him. He sets the Yu Hao Club, which is his property, as the meeting point. The location is very suitable for conversation. It's very quiet. The Grandmaster wonders what the investigator is up to. It is the top club in Jiangcheng. It's practically impossible to even buy a house there. Unexpectedly, it turns out to be Ling Tian's property. The king owns it. Elsewhere, Xu Ran seems to be affected by Yao's death. Her expression shows that she's still grieving. Her father tells her that it was an accident, and she doesn't have to think too much about it. However, she's not ready to accept it based on the Chu family's failed investigation. They used almost everything to investigate the cause of his death, but at every critical moment, they lost the clues. It is as if someone is deliberately trying to block all the information, but she can't figure out who it could be. He reassures her that she shouldn't worry. He's planned a meeting with a gentleman from the National Security Bureau tonight, so he believes they can find out through that person's network. The daughter and father are stopped by a lady from the club they are headed to, who asks them to show their membership card. Once they show their membership card to the security, they are allowed to enter the club. Xu Ran, seemingly very familiar with the club, notices that it seems different today. There are a lot more people, and most of them are powerful and influential. Her father notices an old man with a hunchback and tells his daughter that he is the helmsman behind the Yu Hao Club, Master Rudder. Despite his declining posture, he is actually a martial arts master with great strength. He is also one of the reasons why no one dares to touch the Yu Hao Club. His daughter says that there's something she doesn't understand. Although the Yu Hao Club is luxurious, it wouldn't make all the families in Jiangcheng try their best to please them, just because Master Tuo is there. Her father agrees with his daughter because he knows who's pulling the strings behind the scenes. It's the Jiangnan king, Ye Ling Tian. Shuran is hearing this name for the first time, and this information is quite shocking for her to process. Although the Chu family is the #1 family in Jiangcheng, their influence is limited to Jiangcheng. The whole Jiangnan province is under the shadow of the king of Jiangnan. He is too far removed from them. Her father dismisses the conversation there, saying that the person from the National Security Bureau should be here soon, and he has to treat him well. It's her father's turn to entertain, and while he does that, she is going to wander around and get some fresh air. Whenever Shuran closes her eyes, Yao Jinggu's dead body always appears in her mind. To her, his death is not the most important thing. On the contrary, what's important to her is the person who killed him. His corpse was used to pay respect to the Ye family, and this makes her wonder who in the Ye family could still be alive. And at that moment, she and Chen unexpectedly bump into each other. She thinks that if this guy who appeared before her is the real Chen, he must be living on the streets, so how could he appear here? Nevertheless, she assumes this Chen is just a lookalike of her schoolmate, and no matter how much they resemble each other, she's going to show him some kindness, which can be regarded as pity. She is the first to approach him and ask him how he's doing, but he responds by asking if he can help her, pretending not to know her. She says that she mistook him for an old classmate and that he reminds her of the past. She further remarks that the guy was miserable and his background was so pitiful. She then introduces herself and invites him into the club she and her father visited by extending her arm to hand him her business card. However, he slaps her hand away, refusing to accept it. This catches her off guard, but he's still not done yet. He casually steps on her business card and says that he doesn't care about the Chu family, then tells her to get lost. She calls him a loudmouth, saying he doesn't realize that he's missing out on a great future. He once again repeats his words, telling her to get lost and adding that he won't say it a third time. She is angered by his words, and unable to control her temper, she attempts to slap him, reminding him that whatever powerful family he comes from, it's nothing compared to her family. Surprisingly, the one to stop her from daring to touch him is Master Rudder, who asks Chen what he is doing here. She deduces that he's talking to her, so she introduces herself and starts talking about how much she's admired him for years. Since he has no interest in talking with her, he simply tells her to get lost. He adds that he doesn't care about the Chu family and gives her a clear warning to never enter the Yuhao Club ever again. She apologizes and says she's leaving, but she isn't finished with Chen, as she comments that he's lucky this time. Sometime later, the Grandmaster seems to be annoyed with the king. He was supposed to arrive at the appointed time, but he still hasn't arrived. The Yuhao Club Master replies that maybe something happened to him on the way and reassures him that he will be here soon. The Grandmaster explains that he told the king he would wait for 3 minutes, and if he didn't arrive within those 3 minutes, then he just shouldn't come. Master Rudder wasn't expecting someone his age to be talking so casually about the king. He's trying to think about who this kid might be. The reason he is serving guests here in the first place is because of Ling Tian. Otherwise, someone so full of themselves wouldn't have served anyone here. Just then, the king arrives, and Rudder is the first one to bow before him to show his respect. It's been a year since he last saw him, but he can feel the king is as strong as ever. Meanwhile, the Grandmaster tells his apprentice that he's 2 minutes late. Chen says that if he hadn't come any earlier than this, then he would have left. Master Rudder replies on the king's behalf, saying that the king of Jiangnan has a lot of business to handle. But on the contrary, the king gets on his knees before the Yuhao Club Master even finishes speaking and apologizes, requesting him to stop being angry. The people in the room, apart from him and the Grandmaster, find this shocking, especially the club master, who doesn't understand what's happening. The king is kneeling before Chen before even speaking a word. When the Grandmaster asks his apprentice what he meant by that, he once again asks his master to calm down and addresses him as Lord, making Rudder and the other martial artists in the room realize that Chen is actually the legendary Lord of the Palace. The most powerful underground force in Jiangnan province is controlled by the king, who controls the power and rules of the entire province, making him the most terrifying entity in the province. However, only a few people know that the position at the helm of this force has been vacant from the beginning. Ling Tian has repeatedly stressed that he is only in control by proxy, and that the real helmsman is actually the master of the temple. Master Rudder presumes that the mystery is finally solved. Both he and the martial artist accompanying the king get on their knees as well and show him respect. Chen clarifies that he's not the lord, and then commands the king to stay in the room while asking everyone else to leave. The king listens to his master and tells his people to guard the door. He doesn't want anyone disturbing their meeting, and if anyone dares to persist, he wants them dead. After the king's 2 servants leave to stand guard, he reassures his master that no one will dare to eavesdrop or interfere. Chen, in response, questions why he's being called master. Is it because he saved him in Cloud Demon Valley a few years ago? It's been a long time since the Cloud Demon Valley incident. At that time, the king and his brothers were attacked by a large number of martial artists, and they were badly injured, so they were certain to die. On the other hand, when Chen heard that they were from Jiangnan province like him, he felt compassion and use the formation talisman his master gave him to destroy their enemies. But the gift of having his life saved by the Grandmaster only makes him respect and appreciate him even more. Ling Tian explains that the real reason he calls Chen his master is because of a medal. There's a dragon photo inside it. At first, Chen looks at the medal and thinks nothing of it. But then he notices a young man inside it who resembles him, which makes things a little unsettling for him. He questions who the king got to make this medal and put his face on it. The king simply tells his master that he's wrong and reveals that this medallion is 100 years old and it existed before he saved him. The Grandmaster, acknowledging the medallion's credibility, asks him where he got it from. His apprentice explains that this is his family heirloom, and it was passed down to him by his great-grandfather, who was a top physiognomy master and the best feng shui master of his time. His great-grandfather predicted that the family would disappear in 100 years, so he tried to overrule this prediction by using a secret method to break through the heavens and found an emperor with the purple qi of the Wolong. In the end, he traded the remaining 20 years of his life for this medal, in the hope that his family's fortunes would change forever. His great-grandfather left a message. The emperor in the medal is named Ye, and he will meet him in 100 years. If he doesn't seize this opportunity, he will be the sinner responsible for the destruction of his family. Meanwhile, the Grandmaster thinks this is too much, wondering what kind of emperor he's talking about in this day and age. But his master did say that he had a special destiny, a purple dragon, and that's why he was asked to save Xiaoruoxui's life in the first place. It's because the purple dragon can break the Tao of heaven and change the fortunes of others. The king, seemingly proud of himself, tells his master that he's created and controls a very strong force in Jiangnan. Although he can't resist the influence of the capital city at the moment, he promises to seize control of the capital in the future, simply suggesting that he could help his master seek revenge. However, Chen, expectedly, wants to take revenge for his family's annihilation by himself, so he makes that clear to him while looking all worked up. He further warns the king that if he dares to interfere, they will be enemies from then on. Realizing his mistake, his apprentice says that he doesn't dare and doesn't want to make him angry. Deep down, he feels ashamed for remarking that, because he knows that the Grandmaster doesn't need his help to avenge his family's death. Chen gets straight to the point and tells him that if the king wants him to be his master, then he must agree to 3 conditions. The first condition is that he must not interfere in his life, and he can't do anything without his order. The second condition is that he should send one of his best men to protect his girlfriend and kill anyone who dares to touch her. And the last condition is that he must do his best to investigate the whereabouts of the man from the capital and dig deeper into the incident at Cloud Lake Villa. It's not as simple as it seems. The king immediately accepts the conditions put forward by his lord. Chen lets him know that he's said everything that should be said, and he will contact him if he has something to do in the future. Before the Grandmaster leaves, Ling Tian says that he has something to report. He reveals that several forces have been investigating him recently, the first one being the Chu family. They obtained the monitoring system around Tiandang Mountain and checked the files of Yunhu Villa. However, he used his power to block all information about the Grandmaster. The second party investigating him is the Jia family of Jiangnan province, but their investigation is relatively simple and not in-depth. The third force, which even the king can't intercept, is from the National Security Bureau and the Dragon Soul Commando. Chen is sure that the Jia family must have done it for the sake of his formula. But the Chu family, judging by Xu Ran's reaction from earlier, hasn't found out any information about him yet, but they are investigating him. As for the National Security Bureau and the Dragon Soul Commando Unit, they are public organizations, so he doesn't understand what they are investigating him for. The king reassures him not to worry, explaining that he's going to find someone to take the place of the deaths of the Chen family's father and son, as well as Yao Jinggu's death. Even if those people are found, they still wouldn't dare to move against him rashly without evidence, but he still warns his master to be careful. The Grandmaster thanks his apprentice and also bids him goodbye. Sometime later, as he's on his way home, he wonders why the Chu family is investigating him. He suspects they found out about his whereabouts, and that's the only logical answer. Just then, he bumps into one of the Chu family members, Chu Xu Ran herself. Looking to settle the unfinished business with him, she commands him to kneel and apologize to her right now. She can only consider letting him live if he does that. Chen ignores the rude lady in front of him, acting as if she's not there. He talks to himself about how he should buy a car for himself. At least it can be used as a substitute. She doesn't take being ignored too kindly and charges towards him with murderous intent. She tries to jump at him from behind, but he dodges her strike without even looking at her. He then counters her attack by grabbing her by the wrist and throwing her to the ground, all in one motion. This single counterattack was all it took him to end the fight. However, she still refuses to give up, warning him that he won't get away with disrespecting her family. The moment he leaves the Yu Hao Club, he will die. Since he's short-tempered and doesn't like people threatening him, he grabs her by the face and tells her that he's going to kill her. He states that a woman with a mouth like hers deserves to be recycled, so he throws her into a garbage bin and says it's the best place for her. Having been humiliated, she curses him and wishes that he die a horrible death. After confronting Shu Ran, he returns to the Dadu apartment. Taking the lift to his floor, he recalls that she had nothing to do with his parents' death and was not guilty. Even in his memory, this woman did not appear at Yunhu Villa. However, he is sure that the king didn't find out, because if he had, the Chu family would have been wiped out by him. It's 1 a.m. in the middle of the night, and his flatmate is asleep, so he prefers not to disturb her and quietly goes to his room. When he enters his room, he finds a woman sleeping on his bed. Sun Yi is normally shy, but now he thinks that the reason she's still sleeping under his blanket is that she's afraid after everything that has happened to both of them recently. He decides not to bother her and quietly sleeps beside her. The next morning, when he opens his eyes, he sees Jie Ruoxue in his bed, and it's not just him who's surprised. They are both equally flustered by the predicament they are in. He questions what she's doing there, but before she can respond, Yi walks in on both of them and is baffled. Yi is left speechless after witnessing her best friend and boyfriend in the same bed, even though Chen said that he wouldn't be back that night. She questions whether they did something immoral in bed. Her boyfriend remembers that last night, after talking to Ling Tian, it was already late. After that, Sun Yi called him and asked if he was coming back. He thought she was waiting for him, so he lied to her that he wouldn't be coming back and told her to go to bed early. Meanwhile, Yi's best friend, Ruoxue, drank too much last night, so much so that her head still hurts right now. Otherwise, how could she not have noticed this guy beside her? Both of them clarify that this was obviously an accident and that she doesn't need to think too much about it. Ruoxue's mother suddenly came to Jiang Cheng yesterday and said that there had been an accident in the Xia family, asking her to return within a week. If she goes back to her house, her mother will force her to marry a man she has arranged for her. So she ran away and found herself at her best friend's place, where she drank so heavily that she fell asleep. She forgot that Chen was staying at her friend's house and unexpectedly slept next to him. She's quite ashamed of her carelessness, believing her chastity is gone now. Since it was his negligence that led to the misunderstanding, he says that he's going to take responsibility. Deep down, he wonders why this situation is being made into such a big deal. But at the end of the day, he hugged someone for one night, so he should take responsibility for it. Chen's talk about taking responsibility exasperates Ruoxuo. She questions whether he thinks he could make a difference with a prescription he picked. She meant to tell him that they are not from the same world, which he also agrees with, though for entirely different reasons than hers. He reacts the same way, and after replying to her, leaves. Once he's left the apartment, he receives a phone call from Shen Haihua, who seems to have some information to enlighten his savior with. It's about the Qinghe group. The Shen family has asked their team to sort out 2 plans. The feasibility is as high as 90%, and if the Grandmaster wants, he can send them to him. Chen tells him that there's no need for that because he trusts him. He just wants to know what he should do and what results he can get. The old man has a document that he needs him to find a way to get signed by Zheng Jingming. In addition to that information, the Tianzheng group, also known as the Qinghe group, is currently controlled by an evil force called Qingmen, and this evil force needs to be eradicated. The Grandmaster once again reminds him that he's put all his trust in him, so there's no need to explain. The old man asks him if those 2 problems were solved. Could he take back the Tianzheng group within 3 days? The reason he's asking this is that if Chen can do it, it will take them 3 days to secure control of his father's group. Learning this, his savior asks for the document to be sent to him. He will get it signed by tonight. Haihua thinks that if the Grandmaster can do it, then his abilities are far beyond his imagination. Soon after, the Grandmaster can be seen outside the headquarters of the Qinghe group, holding a document that needs to be signed. According to Yeling Tian's information, Zheng Jingming is currently in a meeting inside, and it's time to make him spill the beans. However, the information is the same as Yeling Tian's. The building has 33 floors, but the elevator only goes up to the 29th floor. There are only a few floors left, but a special pass is required to go up. The 29th to 31st floors are office floors used to hide people, and on the 32nd floor, some of Qingmen's villains have gathered to deal with illegal transactions. Zheng Jingming is on the 33rd floor. If he wants to go further up, he has to use some special methods, and his special method is breaking the glass using qi. Normally, it's easier to break it directly, but it's not good if the glass shards hit innocent passers-by. He prefers to use qi to dissolve it. Using qi, he flies towards the 32nd floor, and the people on that floor hear the sound of someone coming through. When they are about to check what caused those strange sounds, the Grandmaster reveals himself. He tells all the people in the office, mostly thugs, that he's the last person they will ever see in their lives. When one of the ruffians attempts to engage him in a fight, he slashes him down in one blow. According to Ling Tian's information, these villains from Qingmen commit all kinds of crimes, including smuggling drugs and weapons, kidnapping people, and accepting assassination contracts. So it's a crime to leave them alive. Somewhere on the 33rd floor, Jingming and a businessman seem busy with some business when they hear some movement downstairs. He tells his business partner that it's probably just a few brothers playing cards and getting into an argument, so it's no big deal. Besides, this floor is guarded by Qingmin's senior officers, and they are all strong martial artists. After this, the meeting continues, with the businessman talking about Country M coming with sincerity. He asks for the airport map of Zhengcheng province, and as long as Jingming provides it, he will become the agent for all of Country M's business at Zhengcheng port in the future. Jingming's people are startled by the businessman's demands, because if they hand over the airport map, China's security infrastructure will be threatened. They simply call it treason. However, Jingming himself points out that illegal businesses like smuggling drugs and weapons are already greater crimes than treason. The crimes his people commit are so much worse that they deserve to be shot countless times. The businessman wants one more thing added to the deal. His people from Country M are willing to provide his group with 10 sets of high-precision automatic equipment, and he must know that the market price of one machine alone is 50 million. Jingming stands up, and with a smile so wide that it stretches across his cheeks, proudly remarks that since his country is so sincere, they have no reason to refuse. Following the verbal agreement on the terms from both parties, they extend their hands to make it official. However, before they can do that, the wall next to them blows up, and Chen emerges from the dust and debris with his eyes burning with extreme anger. He knew that Jingming would sell out his country for some money, and these people involved in this business don't deserve to live. Even dying 1,000 times would not be enough. Jingming, looking at him, realizes that this boy is Chen from the Ye family, but he's not ready to accept that he's alive after what he and the others did to his family 5 years ago. Since the young man got inside without any notice, he questions where the security is, and learns from his enemy that they are sleeping, but in a way that they will never wake up again. While Jingming questions the possibility of his men dying, refusing to believe that Chen could defeat those experts, Chen pulls out the document that he had kept inside his clothes and throws it at his adversary, demanding a signature on it. This document is an unconditional equity transfer contract. Reading it before signing it, Jingming calls him crazy for daring to demand the equity of the Qinghe group. The other businessman in the room commands one of his men to kill Chen immediately. The bodyguard pulls a minigun out of thin air and starts firing it. The Grandmaster reacts by deploying a barrier around himself to block all the incoming bullets. As his barrier consumes the bullets one after another, he remarks that he has seen many hot weapons, but he doesn't like to use them, so he's going to return them. He throws all those bullets back at the person who fired them, and the countless bullets hitting at once blast the bodyguard's face off. Jingming's martial arts bodyguards charge at him, calling his moves from earlier nothing more than little tricks. The Grandmaster watches them come at him with half-step strength, and this should be considered a strong level in Zhangcheng. But unfortunately for them, compared to his strength, it is still far behind. Jingming is frightened by his powers, with no one left to protect him. He finally realizes that he's up against a Grandmaster, but questions how someone so young could actually be a martial arts Grandmaster. The businessman who was engaged in business talks with Jingming earlier decides not to meddle in someone else's business, and tells him that he should take his time and talk while he excuses himself. But the Grandmaster has no intention of letting him leave like that, so he kicks him in the chest and kills him with a single kick, putting a hole through his chest. With only Jingming left in the room, Chen asks him to sign the unconditional equity transfer contract. Since the sellout is already terrified after witnessing multiple killings, he agrees to sign it just so that he can be spared. He signs it and hands the document over to the Grandmaster, who, to his shock, says that he doesn't have to stay alive anymore. Jingming is left speechless by his unfiltered words. Terrified to the core, he tries to explain that the Qinghe group is backed by Qingmen, and if Chen dares to kill him, they will not let him go. The Grandmaster simply giggles at him and reveals his original plan, which was to target the Qinghe group, but now he's changed his mind. Tonight, Qingmen will be destroyed, and he says it very bluntly. After making those statements, he asks the enemy if there's anything else he wants to say. Jingming finally gets annoyed by his enemy's arrogance. He tells him about the master of the Qingmen sect. If he were to be killed here, not only would Chen himself die, but his whole family would suffer the consequences. The Grandmaster tells him that his whole family died 5 years ago. They died at Yunhu Villa. Jingming, who had suspicions about his enemy's real identity before, finally gets him to reveal his true identity. Struggling to cope with the fact that Chen of the Ye family is alive, Jingming begs him to listen, adding that everything is a misunderstanding and claiming that he was his late father's best friend. But the young man disregards his words, and knee strikes him in the face for speaking anything but the truth. The sight that the Grandmaster always wanted to witness finally unfolds. One of the people involved in his family's death and his suffering is finally begging for mercy. This makes him laugh, but deep down, the hatred and rage that lay dormant within him are finally reignited. He kicks the enemy in the stomach, saying that he didn't spare the Ye family, his family, so why would he even consider letting him live? After this, he starts punching the enemy in the face, and as he throws one punch after another, he demands an answer to what his parents did to deserve death and why he betrayed them. Jingming took everything from him, and because of that, he had to resort to violence. Otherwise, he would have been normal like everyone else and worked hard. In the past, he would tremble when he saw a chicken being killed, but now, it is the hatred that keeps him alive. He will keep on killing all those bastards involved in the Yunhu Villa incident until he's killed every last one of them. The king of Jiangnan was very considerate and saved him a lot of trouble. Not only did he send scavengers to clean up the scene, but he also prepared new clothes for himself. As for his next target, it's time to deal with Qingmin next. Like usual, he bumps into the lady police officer for the first time when he arrives in Jiangcheng. Her name is Officer Bailey Bing. When asked why he's here, he asks her the same question. But she says that it's a confidential mission, so she can't comment. And he gives her a similar response of not feeling obliged to answer her either. Suddenly, a blast happens in a building near them, and the destruction causes giant rocks and debris to fly around in the distance. Unfortunately, they are right below the building, which means they are in danger of getting crushed by massive rocks. When Officer Bing sees a giant rock falling toward her, she gives up on getting out of the way because it's too late. But he jumps in at the crucial moment to save her. After she's been saved, he asks her if she's okay, and she replies with gratitude, thanking him for saving her. When Chen saw her in danger, he moved instinctively and saved her, because her being in danger and this blast had something to do with him. Looking up at the burning building, he clocks that Jingming is trying to erase the traces and is blowing up a whole floor because of it. This way of erasing evidence is the scavenger way of doing things. The martial artists of Qingmen pass by at that moment, and when looking at them, Officer Bing also recognizes them because of their tattoos. She grows suspicious that they caused the explosion. These days, she has been investigating Qingmen. Their entire existence, power, and influence can simply be summed up as cancer. But the police can't do anything because of the lack of evidence. But now that the evidence is here, she tells Chen that she's got something to take care of, so she will be leaving. On the other hand, he is also thinking of proceeding with his plan as quickly as possible. Following the Qingmen thugs, the lady officer finds herself watching them secretly enter a building that seems to be their headquarters or stronghold. They have chosen an abandoned factory as their hideout because it's hidden enough. She's sure that as long as she gets her hands on any sort of evidence, she can mobilize additional personnel and wipe them all out. She climbs onto the roof of the factory and watches the laborers working through the see-through glass. Soon after, she finds out that she can't call for reinforcements because the signal in this place is blocked, and she doesn't know what's in that box. But opening it and taking pictures of it would be significant evidence to take action against them. Reporting the situation to their boss, a grandmaster named Rudder, the Qingmen minions ask for forgiveness, claiming they don't know how the building exploded. The boss is frustrated by their failure because he had sent so many people and only 2 losers survived. What's worse is that the 2 of them never realized they were being followed. It turns out he was aware of Officer Bing was secretly watching them this whole time. She can't believe that this man is an ancient martial artist. He's far more powerful than she is, and this leaves her with no choice but to escape. However, he's so fast that she can't even take a step to make a run for it, and he catches her and slams her onto the ground. It is after hitting her with a heavy punch that he picks her up and sees her face. Realizing that she's a beautiful woman he could have fun with, she lets him know that she's a cop and that her colleagues already know about this place and are on their way. If anything were to happen to her, he and his gang would be destroyed. However, he doesn't care about her warnings and threats because he claims to have committed crimes so severe that even countless bullets wouldn't do his victims justice. At this moment, all he has on his mind is sexually assaulting her. But she firmly holds herself together despite the fear that has already set in. She reveals that her father is Bailey Hung of the Southwest Military Region. If anything happens to her, Qingmen, including him, won't be buried with her even if they die 1,000,000 times. The enemy isn't just all muscles. He seems smart enough to recognize her father, Bailey Xiong, a chief-level existence. He's someone who even the big families in the capital deeply respect. However, what this savage doesn't understand is how his daughter became a police officer. Despite learning which family she belongs to, the enemy doesn't seem to care, saying he will take care of that when this is over. On the other hand, she looks regretful for having acted alone. She would embrace death rather than be humiliated by these scoundrels. Right then, a silhouette appears on top of the shipping containers, just a few meters away, and tells the muscular idiot that if she doesn't want to be robbed of her chastity, then there's no need to force her. The musclehead asks him who he is to dare come to Qingmen's territory. Revealing himself, Chen apologizes and says that he just didn't want to come to Qingmen for nothing. He wants to kill everyone in Qingmen. The enemy gang doesn't take his words seriously and starts laughing at him. The musclehead boasts about having some of the strongest people in Qingmen. Even a martial arts master wouldn't dare say that. He then commands his men to beat him to a pulp, and everyone starts shooting their guns. However, he evades all the bullets with his swift speed and knocks down the gunmen shooting at him using chi. While some of the armed personnel are terrified by his powers, one arrogant gunman steps forward and calls this a small trick that a martial artist with internal strength can do. He calls Chen brave for daring to come to Qingman's hideout alone, but the enemy is too slow to hit him and gets killed with just one punch. The Qingman members are terrified by his strength, calling him a murderer. Watching this from a very close distance, Officer Bing notices that every move he makes is a killing move. He's fighting like a machine with no unnecessary movement. She never knew that such a terrifying force could be in Jiang Cheng. Rudder admits that Jiang Cheng actually has quite a few strong men like Chen. They are at the peak of their internal strength, so he will have to do the honors of killing him himself. He seems confident in his muscular physique, claiming that he can't be hurt, though he doesn't rule out the possibility of forgiving him and accepting him into his group if he kneels and kowtows now. Right when he finishes, the Grandmaster throws a low blow and dislocates his jaw. That one punch is enough to make him acknowledge how dangerous Chen is, but he's ready to die as long as he can take his enemy with him. Once again, the Grandmaster hits him with another one of his decisive attacks, the explosive liver. This attack is enough to make the musclehead propose making a deal, saying he would do anything Chen wants. But the Grandmaster shows him no mercy and cuts him down with a single strike. Officer Bing sees this unfold before her eyes, the sight of him destroying Qingman all by himself. After this, when she sees him approaching her, she feels scared. However, he grabs her legs and spreads them to heal the wound on her thigh and her legs, and expectedly, she misunderstands this as him trying to take advantage of her. He informs her that her leg bones are displaced and there are still many fractures, and if she resists, she will become disabled. She's surprised for a moment to find out that he's actually trying to save her, and she finds it comforting when a stream of qi flows through her body, which is actually his energy. Later, when she's able to walk again, she thanks him. She tells him that if he becomes a doctor, he can definitely become famous. He replies that he's not interested in that field and asks her to go and check the Qingman phones. There should be good evidence there. When she sees him leaving, she questions where he's going, and he replies that there are still remnants that need to be cleaned up. After tonight, there will be no Qingmen left in Jiangcheng. He's planned to wipe them all out within just one night. After a while, Officer Bing brings her unit to the abandoned factory to investigate Qingmen. She shows them all the dead bodies, including their master. Rudder's expression reveals that he seemed to have seen something terrible. She knows that Qingmen has been turned into hell, and seeing how things are becoming worse in Jiangcheng, she calls her brother to report it. Officer Bing informs her brother that Qingmen, including the ancient martial arts practitioner, were killed by Ye Chen, and she also sends him the surveillance camera footage so that he can see it for himself. She further adds that he's also the one who saved her. He lets her know that he's departing for Jiangcheng immediately and warns her not to have any contact with this person again. He calls Chen an extremely dangerous person. She tries to stop him because he has his own missions to handle, but he doesn't think they are as important as this dangerous guy. He wants to see what kind of demon he is. Elsewhere, Chen seems to be frustrated about killing because recently it's been costing him a lot of money on clothes. After all, the bloodstains and dirt on them leave him no choice but to go shopping for new ones. As he passes by a cafe, he spots Xia Ruoxue with a woman, likely her mother, and deep down just admires how rich people like her have a good life. But he's too lazy to get involved with her, so he decides to continue walking, only to be spotted by her. She tells her mom to wait and then rushes after him. Catching up to him, she asks why he's walking so fast, and he replies that he was just passing by and didn't see her. She reminds him that she hasn't settled the score with him for sleeping with her, and now's his chance to do her a favor and make it up to her. While it's embarrassing for him to say this, he still tells her that she's the one who slept with him, and that it was his bed. Her mother walks out of the cafe and asks her who that man is. She pretends to look embarrassed when he's mentioned, asking her mom why she came out. She explains that she's a bit embarrassed to say anything. Her mother seemingly finds this annoying because it will have severe consequences for their family name. If her fiancé finds out that she's having an affair with another man, the Xia family will be at stake. Ruoxu also seems scared after her mother's warning, so she doesn't dare argue with her. Her mother tells her to come with her to the Xia family's house. Her Huame group will be taken over by the family, and she won't be allowed to leave the Xia family from now on. The current head of Huame group begs that she shouldn't be used as a bargaining chip, because she's a human after all. But then her mother questions whether she wants to disobey her father, making her tremble in fear. She says sorry to Chen and slowly walks toward her mother, only to be grabbed once again and pulled closer by him. He tells her mother that she can't come with her because she's already pregnant with his child, and he's willing to take responsibility for her. These bold claims catch Ruoxu off guard, and to convince her mother that they indeed are an inseparable couple, she also pretends to feel worried and asks him, right in front of her mother, about what happened last night. His role-playing continues with him questioning her remarks about not knowing her own body, calling it a lie. She then places her hand on her stomach and says that the baby kicked her. Since this is taking things too far, he thinks she's going overboard with their act. He doesn't normally like Ruoxu, but she just asked for his help, so he can't leave her like that. Earlier, When she promised to return to the Xia family, a trace of blood appeared on her forehead. His master instructed him to protect Xia Ruoxue at all costs. That was the reason, in the first place, that he came to Zhengcheng. His master warned him that if she returns to the Xia family, the glow of the blood will accelerate until she dies. Ruoxu's mother asks her daughter if what the boy said is true, and her daughter confirms that it is. She further adds that if the person her parents have chosen for her finds out that she's lost her virginity, then he would definitely give up. Her mother is agitated by what she's just revealed. However, she seems more distressed by Chen because her carefully protected daughter was defiled by him, and she calls him a disgraceful thing. She grabs her daughter firmly and asks her to go back to the Xia family house. She's going to get a doctor to abort the baby. Ruoxu replies that she doesn't want to return, but her mother doesn't listen and angrily calls it an order. This is where Chen steps in and slowly pushes her arm away from her own daughter. She gives him an intense glare and calls him unworthy of her daughter. She reminds him that the Xia family is far beyond his reach, so much so that he doesn't even deserve to look up to them. That last line from her absolutely enrages him, and the qi in his body starts leaking, spreading an aura into the atmosphere. After demonstrating the enormous qi in his body, he calms down a little. He explains that he doesn't know anything about the Chu and Xi families, and he doesn't want to know anything either. But if he were to be given half a year, he would let them understand what is truly unattainable. He takes Ruoxue and leaves, while her mother stands there watching. After they leave, she calls for an investigation into him. Ruoxu apologizes to Chen for her mother's unfriendly demeanor and the things she said to him. She believes her mother is concerned with her own interests. Otherwise, she's not that cold-hearted, and she doesn't want him to get himself into trouble as well. He simply tells her not to think about it too much. He did it not just for her. After all, it was a task given to him by his master, though he can't say that in front of her. Having been saved by him, she starts to notice how handsome he is, and his attitude is playing a part in making her see him differently. He suddenly stops a taxi as they are walking, waves her goodbye, and leaves. The Xia family has a 100-year heritage, and Ye Chen simply doesn't know their strength, so she definitely can't let him get hurt or get him involved. She decides not to think about it, and to get rid of what's bothering her now. Meanwhile, inside the taxi, he thinks about how to fight against the other forces, as his strength alone is not enough. At this time, he already has the support of Yeling Tian, but the king of Jiangnan is better suited to operating in the shadows, and he needs a force that can stand in the light. He asks the taxi driver to reroute the destination to Longyu Bay Villa area, Shen Haihua's place. The Shen family head wasn't expecting a rare guest like him, so he questions if there's any problem. The Grandmaster hands him the signed property transfer document, and when he opens the envelope and reads the document, he's frightened by his ability to have gotten it signed, and all that so quickly. He doesn't rule out the possibility of him killing Zheng Jingming, who was protected by the master of Qingmen, but he somehow still did it. The Grandmaster has once again surprised him, and does so even more when he reveals that he destroyed the entirety of Qingmen last night. Haihua tells him to rest assured, promising to bring Tianzheng Group back to its glory days. After that, the Grandmaster asks him what he thinks of the Xia family in Jiangnan. The old man explains that the Xia family is a giant in Jiangnan. They have tremendous assets, far beyond anything comparable to the Qinghe Group. Haihua looks panic-stricken as he explains it, but Chen reassures him that he was just asking casually. But then he drops another question. What if Haihua were given a sword? Could he rule all of China? And he says it all with a straight face, which the old man finds even scarier. The old man recognizes this sword. It was from the Tianzheng Group. Speaking frankly, he says his group is much stronger than that. The Grandmaster remarks that they should make it simple first. He questions whether, if he gives him a power similar to Qingmen, but 100 times stronger, along with additional support, Haihua can let the Tianzheng Group swallow up the Shi family within half a year. The old man replies that since the Grandmaster is serious, he will also take it seriously. Even though it is not enough, it also requires strong public support, and he's also at an age where it will be difficult to have enough time. At that moment, he remembers Officer Bailey Bing. Her father seems to have a lot of influence, so he can be considered to pull it off. He turns to the Shen family head and informs him that he has a way on the public side. As for the old man's age, it's easy to solve. This pill can prolong his life by 50 years. Whether it's 5 or 50 years, prolonging their life is what countless people dream of, and although it sounds outrageous, the old man is certain that if anyone can do it, it's his savior. After this, the old man shakes his hand and says that if it's his master's wish, then he will certainly make the Tianzheng Group an unshakable existence. The Grandmaster leaves everything in the old man's hands and leaves, saying they will meet again in 3 days. The old man is sure about one thing, and that is his destiny is about to change, and the one to rewrite it is his savior. Sometime later, Chen arrives and finds Yi accompanied by Ruoxue. He asks her why she's here, even though he knows that she can't stay in the villa alone, so she came to his and Yi's house to mooch. Yi cuts in just to tell him that this is just her house, not theirs. Meanwhile, Ruoxue explains that the Huame group was taken over by the Xia family, and her villa belongs to her family, so she can't stay there. Her bank cards have also been frozen, so she could only come here and live without them. But more than anything, he's just worried about where she will sleep at night, because he would not squeeze into the bed with her again. Ruoxu fires back, saying she doesn't want to blackmail him, and that he should stop flattering himself before saying stuff like that. Yi once again intervenes to calm the situation, saying she and Ruoxu will be sleeping together. Despite that, he continues to taunt her, saying she's extorting people while eating free meals, and that's exactly what he's doing as well. Ruoxu replies that she prefers not to eat for free. The problem is just that she doesn't have a job, and if it's possible, she would want to work for him. He surprisingly agrees, which leaves her wondering if he really is a hidden rich man. After all, he brought out a precious recipe. Ruoxu claims that in terms of work, she has never served anyone, but as long as she works with him, she guarantees that his company will thrive. The premise is that he would have to employ her. After all, in this situation, if he really goes on to hire her, the Xia family will definitely try to suppress and retaliate against his company. She says it despite her facial expressions telling otherwise. And when he gives her a positive response, the one she wanted to get, she gets all excited and asks him for details about his company. In response to her question, he giggles and explains that it hasn't been determined what his company is going to be, and the same can be said about the other departments of his company, but he claims it should all be determined soon. She calls herself stupid for believing him. Not to mention, he probably only wanted to put on a brave face and make that promise to her mother for half a year. As she copes with the fact that he knows too little about this world, she contemplates how it's impossible to surpass the Xia family financially. The real top consortia in China are all hidden in the dark. Elsewhere, at the Xia family house, Ruoxu's mother asks about her daughter's situation and is informed that, according to her routine health check report, her daughter can't be pregnant. However, some time ago, she got drunk and stayed at her friend's house, and there was a man living there with Sun Yi. His name is Ye Chen, and it is most certainly possible that they have had a relationship. Ruoxu's mother throws her wine in anger and says that if that kid really did something to her daughter, then he deserves to die. She learns that he's got very strange origins. There's not much information about him available. It's as if he just appeared out of nowhere. The person reporting the information believes that Chen might be the young master of the Ye family, who survived the Yunhu Villa incident 5 years ago. She remembers how serious that incident was, even though it happened in Jiangcheng. It shook the entire Jiangnan province. After all, from her point of view, the Ye family offended the big men in the capital. She then smiles as she comes to terms with the fact that the kid doesn't want to accept his family's destruction. He wants to marry into the Xia family, become a part of them, and use that power to avenge his parents. She presumably finds his plan fascinating. The person next to her reminds her that, if that's the case, he shouldn't be asking for a half-year agreement so bluntly, because that suggests he has some force supporting him. She is somewhat okay with giving him that agreement and wants to see how he makes the Xia family kneel. Meanwhile, at the Dadu apartment, Chen appears to be spending time alone, thinking about how, with more people in the house, there would be a lot of problems. Just taking a shower or going to the toilet could cause an accident. Despite those obvious problems, he tries not to think too much about them, and gives his attention to the business. Agreeing with Shen Haihua's conditions, he thinks Ye Lingtian's power is enough. It is easy to say that it is a profitable product, but its recipe makes up for it. The problem is the lack of support from the public. After all, he doesn't know Bailey Bing that well, so she might not want to help him. Ye Lingtian may have something to do with it. Suddenly he feels that he's being watched, but still doesn't seem fazed. Instead of being in the position where he should be the prey, he wants to be the hunter. It turns out the one secretly watching him is Officer Bailey Bing's older brother, and he isn't impressed by Chen's ability. He thinks his sister had been tricked. He heard from his sister that Chen is an ancient martial artist, but he isn't sure about that until he uses his binoculars to watch him closely. However, he's stunned when he sees Chen suddenly disappear. In the next moment, he finds Chen jumping at him. Chen was able to climb an 80-meter-high building within a few seconds, which makes him acknowledge that he truly is a master. After this, both go at it, but Officer Bing's brother gets overwhelmed with just a single strike from him. The Grandmaster's strength is so terrifying that he wants to crush his right arm, and he can't fight him head-on. He can only parry and dodge. When Chen notices that his opponent is actively dodging his punches, he goes for an axe kick, which is unavoidable. This attack cracks the whole ground beneath them, and when the dust clears, he notices that his adversary has dodged it. Although he acknowledges his skills for being able to dodge it, he knows that he can't beat him. There's another he's confident about it. It's because he's put up a barrier to shield himself. Bing's brother now realizes that the information about him is wrong. Chen wasn't an ancient martial artist at all. Instead, he is clearly a cultivator. It's no wonder that Chen is so strong. He easily destroyed many ancient warriors. Officer Bing's brother thinks that his junior sister is naive, with very little experience, so she can't see it. This young man in front of him is not cultivating martial arts, but the immortal arts. But what's so stressful for him is that cultivators aren't stronger than ancient warriors. Right then, the young cultivator kicks him in the stomach, sending him into a wall tens of meters away. Following the beating he's gotten, Bing's brother begs for forgiveness, saying he doesn't mean any harm, he just wants to learn from him. He also mentions wanting to talk with him. Chen, however, puts him in a position where he can't even think of fighting back and asks him a series of questions about who he is and why he was watching him in secret. Bing's brother explains that he did not come here to kill him, and they don't have a grudge against each other. To prove his words, he gives him a small notepad with his profile written in it. Officer Bing's brother's real name is Ying Qing, and he's the captain of Dragon Soul. Just when he thinks that he's going to be let off, the Grandmaster says that he's never heard of that organization. Regardless of that, Chen caught him spying and says that he must pay the price. At that moment, just to get himself out of the dangerous situation, where the worst case isn't even death, he shouts that they have a common acquaintance. Her name is Bailey Bing. This doesn't come as that much of a shock to the Grandmaster. He simply asks what his relationship with her is. Yingqing explains that he's her older brother, and he came to him out of curiosity and wanted to invite him to the group after his sister talked about him. His purpose was also to see how good he is, but he definitely had no intention of hurting him. Chen is still unhappy about being spied on when he was comfortable by himself in his own space. He raises his arm and charges his entire body with his magical prowess, but before striking him, he says that if he was going to invite him, then he should have come directly to him. There was no need for spying on him. The captain of the Dragon Soul once again apologizes for his mistakes and begs to be spared. Using the honor of Huaxia Dragon Soul Commando as collateral, he says that he owes him a favor, and he can use the power of the public to help him if he's in a bad situation. When Chen thinks about it, for Tianzheng Group to develop, the support of community leaders is needed. At first, Officer Bing was his first choice for the task, but now this man is more suitable for that role. There are still some things that need to be clarified for the Grandmaster to understand, and he starts by asking what the command status of Dragon Soul is in Huaxia. Yingqing explains that Dragon Soul is the third team of Huaxia that works against the mysterious forces in the world. In terms of status, they only obey the orders of the team head. Their superiors are only the second most relevant. With him revealing that his team was number 3, the Grandmaster believes that there must be a team stronger than them. After pondering it for a moment, Chen says that he's willing to let him go, as long as they are willing to establish a cooperative relationship with a certain company in Jiangcheng. The man hesitates, imagining a dignified Dragon Soul force being used as an umbrella for a company in the small city of Jiangcheng. Although he can't say this, it is very embarrassing for them. It's almost as if they were killing mosquitoes with a sledgehammer. He deduces that the company the Grandmaster is talking about is his father's Tianzheng Group, and Chen confirms that it is true. Bing's brother says that he can't solve this problem by himself, but will help him contact the higher-ups. And even if the higher-ups refuse to help him, he would just find another means to help himself. The Grandmaster is pretty satisfied with it, and he shows it by giving him a pill that will heal his injury upon consuming it. The pill he receives from Chen is an elixir, and this comes as quite a surprise, as he's receiving a medicinal pill from a cultivator. He's only heard of such pills, and this is the first time he's seen one. He asks for more of these pills. The Grandmaster smirks as he shows off the pills, and then adds that this is just one of many of his surprises. There's much more in his catalog. Yingqing asks him how many more of those pills he has, suggesting that they could strengthen the country's military. However, Chen makes it clear that his belongings aren't cultural relics, so he doesn't want to hand them over. But if Bing's brother really wants those relics, Chen suggests that he should fulfill his requests first, and then let the person who has the authority to speak come and talk to him in person. Meanwhile, as he watches the Grandmaster leave, Yingqing thinks about how the person Chen wanted to meet has a lot of things to do and couldn't meet him in person. Nevertheless, he's just baffled that Jiangcheng has finally produced such an extraordinary man. Coming back home, Chen imagines how difficult living with 2 beautiful women is. The bathroom and toilet are always occupied, and he has to be ready for everything. Apart from that, he concedes that his power has grown a lot lately, and because of that, he once again tries to enter the reincarnation tomb. Soon after attempting, he finds himself in the reincarnation tomb realm, and this time his head doesn't hurt anymore when he comes here. The feeling of discomfort in his body is also gone, and the grave no longer rejects him. He wonders whether it is because his strength has increased. Looking around the realm, he finds a tombstone that reads, Shaquan Luo, Yuntian Sect, or the Sky Cloud Gathering Demon Fish Sect. According to the voice in the reincarnation tomb, it seems that as long as his strength reaches a certain threshold, he will be able to trigger the obsession of a powerful person. The one he can summon now is the Fist of Death, Luo Yuntian, but what's complicating things is that he doesn't know how to summon him. This leaves him with only one option, to try every method. At the Metropolitan Apartments, Ruoxu is ready to leave for some business, and lets her best friend know that she doesn't have to bother cooking for her. Yi waves her goodbye and tells her to remember to bring some snacks. Meanwhile, over the past 2 days, Chen has tried all kinds of methods, but the tombstone cannot be triggered. This leaves him wondering whether it's because he's not strong enough. To increase his strength now, he has to use pills, but a microwave oven is useless in this situation. He needs an alchemy furnace. Last time, Zerende told him that the auction would be held today and invited him to go there together, but now there's no news about it. They don't have each other's contact information, which leaves him considering that he should look for him. Abruptly, he receives a call from Shen Haihua, who informs him that he's completely seized control of Tianjin Group, and all the employees have been replaced. Currently, he's working on renaming the group, and the ribbon-cutting ceremony will be held in a few days. Chen feels happy that the Shen family head didn't break his promise, and in this moment of ecstasy, he remarks that when the time comes, the entire Jiangcheng will know. This moment officially marks the return of Tianjin Group. Another factor that's hurting his progress is Ying Qing, who hasn't contacted him, making him wonder if that guy ran away. As he's thinking about him, Zerende knocks on his door, looking all sweaty and worked up. He reveals that he waited all morning at Thompson Yipin Villa, but no one was there, so he had to find this place using various methods. The Grandmaster apologizes for forgetting to tell him the address. He then invites him to come in first, but the old man says that he has to deal with a family emergency. Before leaving, he gave him the invitation card to the auction house that Chen was looking forward to. Chen gladly accepts it, but since Rende has mentioned that there's a family emergency, he asks what it is and whether he can help. Before he can even finish, the old man disappears. Later that day, he arrives at the auction house, the Millennium Hotel, where he meets Zixuan. He notices that she isn't looking like her usual bright self and questions if something's wrong. She pretends to be fine and tells him to come with her. She wraps her arm around his and takes the lead to show him around the auction house. She enlightens him that now is the entry time, and the place they are in inside the hotel is used mainly for acquaintance, relaxation, and recreation. It's basically the public area. The auction will be held upstairs later, but they will eat something first. As they are about to grab something, a man accompanied by two ladies says that he's astonished to see Zixuan here. This comment is followed by a shocking line, as the man claims that the Zhu family couldn't even protect themselves. Chen gives the expected reaction. He steps forward to defend her, but is surprisingly stopped by her. She tells him to ignore them, and that they should leave, reassuring him that her grandfather will take care of it. In addition to that, he's a guest, so he should concentrate on the auction. Since this is Zixuan's family matter, and neither she nor her grandfather wants to talk about it, he feels that he doesn't have to ask. To his surprise, Ruoxue is also there. She's dressed up nicely and asks him what brings him here. He says that he also wants to ask her the same question. While they are chatting, Zixuan seems to be completely mesmerized by Ruoxue's beauty. To avoid being a third wheel and give them some time alone, she says that she's going to the toilet. After she leaves, Chen's new flatmate asks him about the other girl. He explains that she's the apothecary's daughter who helped lead the way for him. But then he asks Ruoxue why she's here when even her bank card is frozen, making it impossible for her to participate in the auction. She says that she wants to eat better, but he hasn't opened a company yet to employ her, so she needs to find a job. She received an invitation before, but since he's here for the auction anyway, she asks him how much money he has with him. He reveals that he brought about 90 million, but she says that it's not enough for this auction, because it is not as simple as it seems, and the people behind it are the ones that no one should underestimate. She adds that in this world, besides him, there are many special kinds of people who practice martial arts and are capable of killing people with a wave of their hand. But he doesn't act surprised, and his demeanor says that he doesn't care at all. Ruoxue decides to share some important information with her flatmate. She reveals that, on the surface, the strongest families in Jiangcheng are the four great families, but some forces are even more powerful, one of them being a mysterious martial arts family called the Jin family, which is arranging this auction. In this auction, there are two sessions. The first is for antiques and paintings, and the second is for martial arts merchandise, perhaps training manuals, potions, weapons, and furnaces. All of them cost at least $100 million. According to Ruoxue, an alchemy furnace must be worth a lot of money, so at his current level of wealth, he can't get one. He asks her if he can auction off his items at the auction as well, and learns that he indeed can. She guesses that he must have realized he doesn't have enough money and wants to sell his recipes. There is a special appraiser's office upstairs, where he can go and try his luck. On the day when Yingqing was spying on him, he had a hunch from his reaction that there shouldn't be many alchemists in Jiangcheng or even in Huaxia. He's sure that his pills will make him a lot of money. Arriving at the assessment room, he finds it busy, with people playing mahjong, and they are going big, with 10 million on the bets. One man notices him and asks him what brings him there. He shows them a pill that he wants to auction. While they recognize it as an elixir, all four people in the room are unable to determine how much it's worth. The woman in the room argues that there shouldn't be any real elixirs existing these days. Meanwhile, another person talks about the pill's authenticity, saying that it is perfectly round and carries a strong aura. The person in charge of assessing the items that are going to be auctioned asks his team to stop arguing because, if there's anyone who knows about pills, it's him. He grabs a magnifying glass to take a closer look at it, convinced that it's not the worthless thing they thought it would be. He examines it through the magnifying glass and discovers traces of cinnabar, a yellowish-red pigment, confirming that it is no ordinary pill, but an elixir. This causes chaos in the room, with everyone wanting to see it again. The expert didn't identify it by the pattern alone. It has a strong scent and the lines are clear, as if it had just been made. This comes as a shock to the assessment team, making them wonder whether an alchemist has appeared. They ask him all sorts of questions, which makes him a little surprised because their reactions tell him that there isn't even a single alchemist in Huaxia. If that's true, it makes him the last alchemist in Huaxia. Chen tells the expert that he does not find it comfortable to talk to them about this, so he should let the people managing the appraisals do the talking to him. The expert takes him to a woman, likely his boss, who seems experienced in handling appraisals of this caliber, and tells her that the guest wants to auction an elixir. She takes a closer look at the elixir, and from its appearance guesses that it must have taken him less than a month to make. But then she gives an unusual reaction, her expression revealing that she's discovered something. Meanwhile, the expert who brought Chen here says that he can't participate in anything else, so he will be leaving now. The woman tells him to take a seat anywhere he likes and then introduces herself as Jinling Yan. She also asks him for his name. Introducing himself, he says there's no need to be polite and inquires whether his elixir can be auctioned. Knowing that making potions requires studying recipes and familiarizing oneself with the medicinal properties of many herbs, which can be time-consuming, yet this one probably didn't take him long to make, she asks how many he will be auctioning. He lets her know that he is going to auction 5, which convinces her that, with a number like that, there must be a real alchemist behind him. She gives her valuation for the elixirs. Selling 5 pills will reach a value of about over 1 billion. However, since these elixirs are rare, she suggests that he should sell them one at a time, but he's keen on making a fortune and wants to sell all 5 elixirs. In this moment, Ling Yan is also thinking about stocking up on the elixirs and making a fortune by slowly selling them. She immediately gives him a bank card that contains $1 billion and reveals that it's all she has on her at the moment. She admits that it's not enough to purchase all 4 pills, so by selling them to her, he will be doing the Jin family a favor. From this point on, she states that, no matter what, the Jin family is here to help him. Ling Yan finds Chen interesting, but then corrects herself that it's the alchemist behind him who is precious. She believes that she's going to see him again in the future. The Grandmaster finds the price to be acceptable, and since the auction is about to start, he says he's going first. Before he leaves, she hands him a fake ID so that he can hide his identity and disguise himself. She explains that lone auctioneers like Ye usually like to hide their true identities, so this might come in handy. He accepts it and leaves. From the way he's been acting just now, she feels that he is indeed an ancient martial artist, though she doesn't know how strong he is. After he leaves, she calls someone and asks them to investigate Chen. Sometime later, he can be seen sitting together with Ruok Shui and Zixuan, with the former asking him if he's got enough money to participate in the auction. He replies that he's got $1 billion, which leaves both girls stunned. Ruok Shu admits that his recipes are worth a fortune, but they are not worth $1 billion. Meanwhile, the auctioneer reveals that the last item in the first auction is a piece of jewelry. The name is Star Tears. Star Tears is the last work of the Jiangnan jeweler, Ding Yuangchang, but it is only half finished. It is said that Ding wanted to finish it and give it to his granddaughter at the end of his life, but he couldn't do it. After the theft of Star Tears, this item passed from country to country and finally arrived in today's Jiangcheng. With this, the auction is now open. The initial bid for this artifact starts at $60 million, and each bid cannot be less than $2 million. Soon enough, the bids start ramping up, but if there's one person who seems to be looking anxious with this item being auctioned, it's Ruok Shui. It turns out this is her grandfather's artifact, and she's sad because she's not able to buy something that her grandfather made for her with his life's work. Even if it costs her severing her ties with her family, or even if the Huame group has to be sold, she would do it. But that doesn't change the fact that she has nothing now. Watching the auction from the stands, Ling Yan notices a boy spending like there's no tomorrow on a necklace that has no trace of aura. She guesses that he wants to give it to a woman as a present, but since it's not her money, and more importantly not her business, she doesn't want to do anything about him increasing the price. This boy bids a price of $96 million for an artifact that had an initial bid of $60 million. He claims that others may not know about this, but the young lady of the Xia family, referring to Ruok Shui, has a lot to do with the Star Tears. Obtaining it would make her happy, and with this favor, he can also borrow the power of the Xia family to rise to the top. He once again raises his bid to make sure no one else gets it, taking it to $140 million. Suddenly, the auctioneer reveals that an anonymous bid has been made for $200 million, which comes as a big surprise to him. He tries his best to find out the identity of the bidder, but is informed that the man did not want to give his name, and the bid was made through a proxy. The boy can't believe that there's someone bidding $200 million for a piece of jewelry. In addition to that, he only brought $140 million, and the insufficiency of his funds is making him even angrier. Just then, Ling Yan walks in and asks the boy if he is questioning the credibility of her family. The boy trembles in fear, remarking that he didn't mean it that way. However, she won't accept the reputation of her family being disgraced. She asks her people to drag him out and break his limbs so that he can learn a lesson. Looking frightened to the core, the boy, introducing himself as Chu Mingkai, says that they can't do it. But her bodyguards, following her order, break his legs and arms. She tells his half-dead body that from now on, the Chu family in Jiangcheng will not be allowed to participate in the auction anymore. Otherwise, he will be killed. The staff working at the auction tells him that he deserves this for provoking a martial arts family. While the highest bid of 200 million is about to be secured by the anonymous bidder, Ruoxu vows to do whatever it takes to get her hands on star tiers, no matter who wins the auction. With star tiers being successfully sold, Lengyan proceeds to move the auction to the second stage. She further apologizes and requests cooperation from the audience because the final item of the first stage is not available at the moment. After this, the auction moves to the second stage, with gold thread cloth showcased as the first auction item. After a good while, with many items auctioned off, Zixuan seems surprised by the tremendous amounts spent by bidders on various items. The thing she's most excited about is a Kung Fu secret book, which she says is very eye-opening. On the other hand, Chen finds these items to be trash. The difference between the ancient world of martial arts and this place is too great. Here, piles of trash are treated like treasures. The item that was planned to be auctioned off in the first stage of the auction, and the heavyweight of this event, the Baikao tripod, a 100-herb cauldron, is finally listed for bids. It was accidentally obtained by the Jin family in the Shennong Mountains. It can be used for medicinal purposes as well as for collections. Originally, this was the final item, but now it's only the second to last item. The starting price is 300 million, and each increment cannot be less than 10 million. The Grandmaster finds this interesting. The value of this tripod is even higher than he had expected. The bids for this specific item soon reach the value of 430 million, with even the Grandmaster taking an interest. Leng Yan is also sure about the fact that this tripod is definitely what the alchemist behind Chen wants, still not knowing that he's the one who needs it, and that there's no one backing him. A young man from the Zhang family named Zhang Wenlin makes a bid of 450 million, and a bid this big shakes the entire room, leaving the other bidders and attendees in awe. In Jiangcheng, there are 3 top martial arts families, and the Jin and Zhang families are among them. Competing with him will get anyone into trouble, and the rumors also speak of his ruthlessness. He doesn't stop until he gets what he wants. Leng Yan, just to be cautious, messages him that Wenlin must not be provoked, as he has a martial arts family behind him. It is best for him if he surrenders the Baikao tripod and doesn't get into trouble by competing with him. However, his reply says otherwise. She bought his elixir for 1 billion and made a big profit, and because of that, she has to repay him and help him. Just then, it is announced that a man who did not want to be named offered 500 million. This annoys Wenlin and his bodyguard, who can't believe that anyone would dare to steal it from him. They don't care if this anonymous bidder hides his name. With the Zhang family's skills, they will find out who he is, and this could be his last day. Wenlin bids 530 million for the tripod, thinking that 550 million is the maximum price for a Baikao tripod, and that no one will bid more. But to his surprise, the announcer reveals that the anonymous bidder has increased the offer to 700 million, and that is enough to secure the tripod for Chen. Although the rich boy has given up on the tripod, he's definitely not happy with how this anonymous participant is messing with him. He presumes that his Zhang family is being provoked. He's unable to control himself and shouts that he's going to find the bidder for troubling him and his family, and make sure they regret what they have done today. After the tripod is sold to the Grandmaster, he appears happy, with a wide smile on his face. He can finally increase his realm with the help of the Baikao tripod. Leng Yan announces that the next and last item to be auctioned at the auction house was obtained by her family, and it is not an exaggeration to describe it as priceless. She opens a briefcase and unveils a real elixir. The bidders and attendees believe that what she said could not be wrong. It indeed is a real elixir. She reveals that the starting price of the elixir is 400 million, and any price increase cannot be less than 20 million. Once people start bidding on it, the bids quickly go up to 680 million. Ruoxu is shocked to see people bidding that much money, and this is the first time she's seen such a crazy auction. Soon after, the auction ends, and everyone starts walking toward the exit. Chen wonders how Jiang Wenlin would react if he found out that the elixir was made by the person who stole the tripod that almost belonged to him. As he's thinking about it, he receives a message from Leng Yan, asking him to come to her place because her father has asked her to compensate him after learning about him. Meanwhile, Ruoxu says that since they won't be attending dinner, she wants to go back together. Just then, she remembers that he was talking about having $1 billion before the auction started. She questions how she didn't see him buy anything during the auction. He simply replies that he didn't particularly like anything at the auction, and then says he's going to the toilet. Later that night, he visits Leng Yan's place and receives a card that contains $1.5 billion, which she says her father asked her to give to him as compensation. After all, he sold his elixirs at a loss. He tells her that he didn't come here to ask for money. He just came to pick up the Baikao tripod. Just to be safe, She asks him to leave his address and telephone number, and she will send someone to personally deliver it to him that night. She invites him to dinner, saying it's her father's wish. However, he doesn't find it necessary, and reveals that his friends at home have already made dinner. Not to mention he's not used to eating out. In her eyes, he's outright rejecting her father's favor of saving him. He has offended the Zhang family, and without a powerful force to protect him, he will die. Unfortunately for him, the Jin family has given him a chance, but he didn't appreciate it, so he can't blame them if something goes wrong. Elsewhere, in the Millennium Hotel's monitoring room on the 5th floor, Wenlin has knocked out the security guards, and the rich boy has gotten his hands on the elixir. He expresses that he wasn't expecting something so unexpected today, but has luckily gotten an extremely pure elixir. It is completely different from the ones in his family's collection. He's informed that the elixir's pattern suggests that it should take 10 days to refine, which makes him wonder where the Jin family got it from, and why they are willing to auction off such a good elixir. It also makes him suspicious that they control some sort of elixir source. His servant also shares similar thoughts, and if it's true that the Jin family has control over the elixir source, they would soar to a higher level than the Zhang family. Wenlin is then informed that the CCTV footage has been recovered, and Jin Lengyan only met one man. He should be the one who stole the Baikao tripod, and most likely the Jin family's pills came from him as well. The rich boy appears furious over this, as Chen has snatched what he thinks belongs to his family, and now he's looking for revenge. Elsewhere, Chen and Ruoxu bid Zixuan farewell, but he notices that the rich lady of the Zhu family is going to take a taxi home. Even though she has the Zhu family's wealth and could have waited for her driver, she is now forced to take a taxi. He goes ahead and asks her what happened to her family, but when she tries to hide it, he asks for her phone and saves his contact information in it. He tells her to contact him if she needs anything, and promises to help her out as much as he can. Jirende has helped him a lot, and he has too much dignity to just stand idly by and do nothing when they are in trouble. She gets teary-eyed when he says that he will help her family out, and thanks him when he says he's leaving. Later, on his way back home with Ruoxu, the latter points out how awkward she feels when the other girl calls him master and is being overly polite. In response, he jokes with her that her words make him look old. Not long after he cracks those jokes, he senses something mysterious nearby and raises his guard. Though, he reacts normally with her and tells her that he suddenly has an urge to drink coffee, so she should go inside, order for both of them, and wait. He will join her in a bit. She asks why she has to wait and where he is going, and he replies that he is going to the toilet, though he will treat her no matter how expensive it is. She asks another question. Why isn't he using the toilet inside the cafe? He says it's too soft and not strong enough. Although his response makes it a bit awkward, it convinces her to do what he's told her to do. Once she's inside the cafe, he gets ready to crush any threats. The threat appears to be the Zhang family, specifically Wenlin and his people, and they also find out that they have been spotted by their target. The enemy also sees Ruoxue going into the cafe and finds her interesting. He's planning to teach Chen a lesson, take back the tripod, and then capture that woman to play with her. His daydream is cut short as Chen stealthily appears behind him and grabs him by the head. His servant, a martial artist as well, leaps at Chen for daring to sneak attack his master, but the Grandmaster strikes him midair and blows his head off, leaving Wenlin in disbelief. Having beaten the servant to a pulp, Chen turns to Wenlin, telling him that it's his turn to die. The rich boy talks about the consequences that the Grandmaster may face for killing his servant, and commands him to kneel and beg for forgiveness. But Chen doesn't care about any of those details and smacks him on the head, knocking him down in one blow. Once his business ends there, he still senses someone's eyes on him, and he asks them how much longer they are planning to watch. Following these comments, the person eavesdropping on him finally shows himself and apologizes. He introduces himself as Jin Qian of the Jin family. It appears that he was tasked by the Jin family to protect Chen when he's in danger, but after witnessing the Grandmaster's strength, he wonders whether he is worthy of protecting him, because Chen is at least 10 times stronger. He tells the Grandmaster that Lengyan discovered that the surveillance room had been invaded, so she sent him to protect Chen. The Grandmaster calls her nice for thinking about his safety, but he adds that he doesn't like people interfering in his life. He wants those exact words delivered to her. The cover bodyguard nods his head, agreeing to deliver his message, but he says there's one more thing to say. However, he's hesitating to speak up. Chen gives him permission to go ahead and say it, prompting him to explain that the Grandmaster is so powerful that he lives up to his status, but the Zhang family is also powerful, probably equal to him, if not stronger. The head of the Zhang family, Zhang Baoguo, ranks 514th on the Huaxia Grandmaster's list. Since he killed his son, the cover bodyguard is almost certain that he will get into trouble for sure. The Grandmaster's list being a thing is news to Chen, and what comes as even more of a surprise to him is that there are over 500 people stronger than the head of the Zhang family, despite him being a Grandmaster. He's now realized that the ancient martial artists in Huaxia are not as simple as he thought. Still, he had a reason to kill Wenlin. It was all for his flatmate's safety. He appreciates the information and waves Chen goodbye. After Chen leaves, the covert bodyguard calls his employer and informs her about Wenlin's death. Soon after, Ling Yan arrives at the scene and witnesses the rich boy of the Jiang family dead. She becomes anxious when thinking about how much chaos this will bring to the city. Just to confirm again, she questions whether Chen did this single-handedly without any resistance, and Chen reveals how exceptional a grandmaster he was to be able to kill even the old man, the martial artist protecting Wenlin. She believes that there's an alchemist behind him, but she still can't shake off the feeling of imminent, uncertain events. As for now, she commands her men to get rid of the corpse and send someone to the Jiang family to inform them about the situation. She also wants any traces of the dead bodies to be gone, including the person who brought the body. This matter is beyond the control of the Jin family. If the Jiang family finds out about Ye Chen, she and her family can only stand by and watch. At Yi's apartment, all three dwellers are having dinner. While the two girls are having a little chat with each other, he quietly thinks about how complicated the Jiang family's ranking list is, even with the king investigating and digging for information. Two different systems are harboring different categories of realms, but in Huaxia it's utterly bizarre and unreasonable. There's no realm after Grandmaster. Since there are both weak and strong among the Grandmasters, but no division of realms higher than Grandmaster, a Grandmaster's list was created to distinguish the stronger ones from the weaker ones. He doesn't know how strong he is at the Grandmaster rank, and the only way to find out is by fighting them. He can find out where he ranks among the Grandmasters when the head of the Jiang family, who ranks 514th in the Grandmaster's list, comes to his house and fights him. Yi snaps him back to reality when she informs him that Ruoxu's birthday is next week and asks if he has thought about a present. He replies that nowadays there's no need to give gifts. They can just send 250 in red envelopes, a Chinese tradition of giving money as a gift during special occasions. Ruoxu asks him to explain whether he's sure he wants to send her 250 in red envelopes. He misunderstands her and thinks that she's asking for more, so he offers 520. This creates another misunderstanding, this time involving Yi, who feels sick at the thought that they are already close enough to be exchanging that many red envelopes. Right then, he receives a message from Zixuan, asking him to save her grandfather. Moments later, he arrives at the Zhu family courtyard, which he finds to be heavily guarded by the military. Right at the entrance, there are 3 snipers on the roof of the building, ready to shoot down anyone who dares to infiltrate. He doesn't understand what happened to the Zhu family that the military had to get involved. The only way he can get inside is through his connections. He calls Officer Bailey Bing and asks her to do him a favor by helping him get inside the Zhu family's house. Chen, having waited for quite some time, grows frustrated at not hearing anything from Officer Bing. But then, an officer named Luo Zhengguo comes up to him, saying he was sent by her. The officer then shows the military personnel at the entrance his rank, asking if it's high enough for them to let him in, and they do not argue. They just salute him to show their respect. Meanwhile, inside the house, the grandfather and Zixuan are grieving over what's happening. The old man tells his granddaughter that there's no point in calling anyone. It's all over for them. Chen arrives in time and replies that that's not necessarily true. Seeing the grandmaster, the old man tells his granddaughter that she shouldn't have wasted his time, and she replies that he's the most powerful person she knows. The grandmaster asks the old man what happened, but the old man persists in not getting him involved in his troublesome business. However, his granddaughter opens up about the situation, revealing that a few days ago, a big shot came to Jiangcheng. That person was not feeling well, so they asked for her family's Duren Tang medicine, but the medicine had negative effects on that person, seemingly because it contained poisonous drugs, or so that person claimed. She says that her grandfather had handpicked all the medicines and checked them several times, so there couldn't be any poison. After hearing her explanation, he also feels that there would be no reason for the Zhu family to poison a stranger, suspecting that someone must have exchanged the medicine with poisonous drugs. He then asks where that stranger is now and is informed that they are in the hospital. If something were to happen to them, the Zhu family would be finished. The Grandmaster asks to be taken to that hospital to see the man. As long as he is still breathing, he can save him. The old man's jaw drops when he hears the Grandmaster talking about saving someone, because he's only heard that martial arts Grandmasters are usually good at killing, not at saving lives. Chen reminds them that this is their last chance, so he won't repeat himself twice. Soon after, Officer Zhengguo, Rende, and Chen barge into the operating theater, where the surgery on the big shot is underway. It turns out the big shot is the father of a high-ranking military officer who is enraged the moment he spots Rende coming there. He attempts to punch the old man with killing intent. However, the Grandmaster stops him and tells him that, before the person inside wakes up, he has no right to do anything harmful to the old man. The officer says that he was wondering why the old man would return, but now he knows the reason. There's an expert behind him. However, he's not fazed by it, because the number of experts in Huaxia is not small. and he believes the old man will not be able to protect his family even with a martial artist like Chen protecting him. Sometime later, the doctors walk out of the operating theater with visible disappointment on their faces. When the officer asks about his father's condition, he's informed that he can't be saved because the poison within his body has dispersed. Those are the words the officer never wanted to hear, and despite the doctors saying they did their best to save him, he grabs one of the doctors by the collar. Chen, after waiting for his moment from the start, calls the officer trash for being useless and proceeds to head into the operating theater. The officer looks perplexed for a second, but Officer Zhengguo enlightens him about the Grandmaster's intentions, vowing to take responsibility and go to court-martial if Chen isn't able to save him. The officer decides to believe in him for once, and if he fails, he's prepared to kill him. His change in demeanor is due to Zhengguo's appearance, because the latter has always been careful in doing things. Meanwhile, evaluating the patient's condition, Chen can see the deadly air oozing out of the patient's body. He can sense that the old man has a strong will to live, so much so that if it were someone else, they would have died in this state. He calls this half-dead man lucky to have met him. He crushes one of his elixirs with his hand and pours its effects over the old man's body through a needle. Fast forward to 5 minutes later, the poison in the patient's body disappears, and Chen expects him to wake up soon. Following this, he notices some bruises and severe old cuts on the patient's body. Feeling that it's not his business to speak about them, and that he has already done a good deed for the country, he opts to leave. But to his surprise, the old man opens his eyes and asks him to stop, addressing him as doctor. The patient asks for his name, but he replies that he only saved him for someone's sake. He adds that the old man needs to remember 2 things. First, the poisoning has nothing to do with the Zhu family, so he needs to resolve that misunderstanding. Second, the poison he's suffering from is a chronic poison and has been consumed for more than a month. Outsiders can't have given him that, and now's the time for the old man to clean up the internal problems involving him. Once Chen comes out, the officer once again lashes out at him. He says that he thought of him as a great person, but he's only been inside for 8 minutes and is out already. This is making him think he's being played. He stops once he hears his father's voice telling him to stop. Everyone in the vicinity is stunned to see the patient walking on his own, even the doctors. The old man, whom people address as Chief, reveals before everyone that if it wasn't for the young man, he would have died. Calling it unexpected, he seems glad to have met a peerless miracle doctor. After learning the truth, the officer who was eager to throw hands at him softens up. He turns to apologize for his behavior and thank Chen, but he looks around only to realize that the miracle doctor is no longer there. Meanwhile, the first thing the chief does is what his savior asked him to do: apologize to Zhu Rende and admit before his son and the other military personnel that the Zhu family is innocent. Old man Rende, feeling that he doesn't deserve an apology, asks him not to apologize, saying he doesn't deserve it. The chief asks for the miracle doctor's contact information. The Zhu family's old man shares that the miracle doctor is named Ye Chen, whom they coincidentally befriended. As for his contact details, he tells the chief that the Grandmaster doesn't like to be disturbed, so he can't share those details. Elsewhere, the Zhang family is mourning the death of Zhang Wenlin. Wenlin's older brother, and Bao Guo's son, informs his father about the ongoing investigation into his third son's death, revealing that he was at an auction when the tripod that piqued his interest was snatched away by an anonymous bidder. This happened moments before his death. The family head wants a thorough investigation into this incident. He wants everyone who was at the auction to be questioned. He's so furious that he wants to find the killer and seek revenge, even if it means searching the whole of Jiangcheng. He plans to kill the murderer in such a way that they would have to watch everyone close to them die before their own life comes to a pause. On his way somewhere, Chen receives a call from Shen Haihua. The old man informs him that the Tianjin group's affairs have basically settled, and he wants to know what position the Grandmaster will assume in the group, a legal representative or someone else. The news of the Tianjin group will spread throughout Jiangcheng by tomorrow at the latest, and the old man questions whether it will affect him. He replies that there is nothing to worry about, as there's no need to hide his name anymore. He wants Jiangcheng to know that he, Ye Chen, has returned. Sometime later, at his own villa, the Jin family delivers his belongings from the auction. This includes the Baikao tripod and star tears. Qian says he also has a message from Leng Yan to pass on. The Zhang family is angrier than they expected and is currently investigating everyone involved in the auction. It won't take them long to find out about him. Leng Yan has arranged a private jet to take him to Sanya City as soon as possible. There, they own a property, so the Zhang family won't be able to reach him. He replies that he appreciates Leng Yan's kindness, but he won't go anywhere. Instead, he will stand his ground and fight them. Qian is instructed to return as the Grandmaster has his own plans for the Zhang family. Once the Jin family messenger leaves, he gets busy making a blue spirit pill. He uses star tears as an ingredient and lights a flame beneath the tripod to prepare the pill. There are 9 levels of elixirs, and each is further divided into 9 grades. The higher the level, the more patterns it has and the better the elixir's effect. The blue spirit pill was a third-tier elixir for refining spiritual energy and accelerating cultivation, though he is in doubt about whether he can produce that many patterns using the Baikao tripod. Moments later, the blue spirit pill is formed, with a dramatic effect that lights up the whole room. With a gesture of his fingers, he summons the spirit pill to himself. This pill is of excellent quality. It is a level 3 elixir with 7 patterns. At first, he thought he could only make a level 3 pill with 3 patterns, but this pill has exceeded his expectations. After all, the herbs he used weren't of high grade, so he wasn't expecting much in the first place. He deduces that it must be because of the tripod. He believes that if his guess is correct, this happened because the Baikao tripod increased the efficacy of the herbs he was using, and that's definitely what happened. He feels that he's got a good deal this time. No matter where this tripod is placed, its existence will still be a treasure, and this time he got the benefit of having it. After this, he decides to cultivate, so he swallows the pill that he has just created to break through. The breakthrough happens shortly after he starts cultivating, and he reaches the 6th level of the Enlightenment realm. In one night, he was able to break through 2 small realms, which is a remarkable feat even by his standards. Earlier, as he was breaking through to the Enlightenment realm, a crystal formed over his head that he didn't notice at the time. He didn't notice it back then, but he does now. He appears surprised, but suspects this thing must be the reason he was able to reach the 6th level of the Enlightenment realm. After he grabs it with his hands, he feels that it is different from before. He then goes to the reincarnation tomb to look around, and when he reaches the grave where Luo Yuntian is engraved, he can see different things this time after cultivating, and guesses that maybe it was because of his breakthrough. Now he can feel that, as long as he thinks about it, he can move the tombstone at any time, and then the so-called Luo Yuntian will appear. At the same time, he can also feel that the summon will only appear once, and the tombstone will be destroyed after being triggered. This is a very valuable trump card that should only be used as a last resort. Meanwhile, at the Dadu apartment, Yi learns that the Tianzheng group, which disappeared 5 years ago, is coming back. She shows the news to Ruoxu as well, who feels that she has heard of it somewhere. On the other hand, Yi, who knows that the Tianzheng group belonged to Chen's father and the Ye family, feels that it is her flatmate who has played a role in reviving his father's empire. Just then, she notices Chen's name listed as the legal representative. Ruoxu starts to figure it out as well. She remembers him talking about starting a company, and now she feels that he's the person restarting the Tianzheng group, though she has yet to figure out his background and learn about the tragedy that happened to him 5 years ago. On the contrary, she thinks he's doing this to confront her mother. The Chu family also learns about the revival of the Tianzheng group. The family head and his daughter both find it surprising that the person who was supposed to be dead is alive and taking back what rightfully belonged to him. The Chu family head reveals that the investigation results on the Tianzheng group have been released. The person registered as the legal representative of the group is none other than Ye Chen from the Yunhu Villa incident. He takes out a photograph of himself and shows it to everyone. Since Shuren has already crossed paths with him before, she looks surprised, wondering what could have happened to the Ye family scum that made him become an ancient martial artist. Her father believes that the appearance of the Tianjin group is not scary in itself. What is scary is that it was built on top of the Qinghe group. Zheng Jingming of the Qinghe group died a few days ago, and even the Qing sect behind him was also destroyed. This means that the Ye family's group was built on a pile of corpses. Such a force is enough to pose a threat to the Chu family, so they must find out who the group's umbrella is. He suddenly remembers how Chen seemed to be interested in his daughter, and he tells her not to worry, saying he's not worthy of the Chu family. The old man suspects that Chen is being used as a puppet, and that there may be others behind him. According to their latest source of information, Shen Haihua of the Beiming group rebuilt the entire group. However, what stuns him is the news that Shen Haihua had cancer some time ago, yet miraculously survived it. Shuran's father thinks the old man was confused from being ill, so he dared to use the name Tianzheng Group. He also seems interested in seeing how they open their business tomorrow, and believes that no one in their right mind will be there. The Xia family also has a negative reception to the establishment of the Ye family's revived business, but she isn't fazed by it, feeling that it doesn't shake the status of the Xia family. She commands her personal bodyguard, Xia Jun, to send a message to every business corporation and individual that if anyone dares to support the Tianzheng group at its opening tomorrow, they will all become enemies of the Xia group. Jun, knowing that his madam is keen on destroying the company and pushing the Tianzheng group toward its destruction, is certain that the newly established group will be in a state of flux tomorrow morning, and even the Beiming group will be involved too. The Grandmaster is cultivating at home when the Shen family head calls to inform him about the Xia and Chu families' intentions to block the Tianzheng group. Even the other three families of Jiangcheng, the Zhao family, the Lu family, and the Wang family, who initially expressed their support, have backed down as well. No one dares to come to the opening ceremony tomorrow because it means offending the big families of Jiangcheng and the Xia family of Jiangnan province. Chen was expecting this from the beginning, so he's pretty calm about it. However, Haihua seems surprised by how calm he is. He fears that if things continue like this, no one will want to work with them in the future. Right now, the only thing the old man can think of is rescheduling the opening ceremony. The Grandmaster doesn't care about anyone boycotting his group, and he definitely doesn't want the opening to be ordinary. He reassures the Shen family head not to worry and to leave everything to him. The next morning, the Grandmaster comes back to the flat, thinking about the basic arrangements that have been made. The king, being the powerful man he is, wanted to show himself, but Chen refused to have him expose himself to the world, as he is more suitable for hiding in the shadows. Meanwhile, Yi and Ruok Shui ask him where he has been for the past 2 days, and about his involvement in the Tianzheng group. Feeling a little awkward, he says it was his father's company, and as his heir, it has been passed down to him. Out of the blue, Ruok Shui hugs him, looking all emotional. She apologizes for what her mother is doing to his father's group. She reveals that she called her mother several times to plead, but she wouldn't let go. Deep down, she blames herself. He had worked hard to build a business that could rival the Xia family and the other families, but it's looking like it won't even bloom properly. He pats her head to comfort her with a smile on his face and tells her that she didn't do it. He jokes that she should kiss him on the cheek if she's feeling guilty, as it will make him feel better. She doesn't hesitate and goes for the kiss, saying she hopes he feels better now. He once again reassures her that everything will be fine tomorrow, and he seems confident in those remarks. The next morning, what they were expecting happens. No one comes to the opening ceremony. He wishes for something to happen there, especially from Chen, because standing there by himself makes him feel embarrassed. The surprise he was wishing for happens. He coincidentally encounters a fellow businessman named Zhao Yucheng. They have been friends for over 10 years, and when he extends his arm for a handshake, his old friend slaps his hand away in anger. Yucheng seems angry because his friend of 10 years is neglecting his own family's safety by catering to the Ye family's brat. Just then, Chen arrives at the scene and asks what they are talking about. The old friends stop their quarrel for a second as Haihua greets his master. However, the businessman once again lashes out at his friend for paying such great respect to a loser. The Shen family head finally loses it. He tells his friend that if he's there to support him, he thanks him from the bottom of his heart, but if he's there just to insult him and his master, then he should leave as soon as possible. The businessman, however, believes he's actually helping his old friend by persuading him to stop. He even threatens to cancel the business plans they had been working on if he doesn't listen to him. After this, both of them continue to exchange harsh comments before the businessman decides to leave. Since the Grandmaster has already seen everything, Haihua shares that the people he contacted dared not come. But the Grandmaster once again shows his composure, remarking that everything will be fine. It turns out Haihua's old friend is working for the Chu family, and after quarreling with his friend, he comes back to report the situation. He tells Shu Ran that he didn't see a single person there, and it's almost 9 in the morning. He believes that, whether they are large or small enterprises in Jiangcheng, they will not get involved, and the same goes for high-profile individuals. Meanwhile, she smiles, thinking about how entertaining it will be to watch him struggle to revive this hopeless situation. Zhou Zhengde, the head of the Zhou family of Jiangnan province and the patient Chen saved from the poison, is cut short of his martial arts practice session and is informed about the boycott by other families who haven't shown up yet. The chief asks 2 Jiangcheng officials who are in his presence about what mistake the Tianzheng group made to deserve such treatment. He points out that boycotting a group just because some big families are doing it as well is unacceptable. The officials were called here early in the morning. They didn't care about the Tianzheng group shutting down at first, but after learning that Zhengde is backing Chen, they regretted their decision. The chief commands them to leave this place immediately if they want to fix the situation. His son asks him if Chen is really that precious. If they were to support the Tianzheng group, it would mean that their relationship with the Xia family would be severed. The chief criticizes his son's ability to judge people, and then points out that both of them have witnessed his miraculous healing abilities and martial arts prowess, respectively. It's impossible for a genius like him to have such a humble background, and if they don't take sides today, they won't be able to do it in the future, even if they wanted to. Although in terms of financial strength, the Xia family is the largest in Jiangnan province, in terms of strength, the Zhou family is unrivaled. He's basically severing ties without having to fear anything or anyone. His son replies that he understands now. It's exactly 9 a.m. at the Tianzheng group entrance, and still no guest has arrived except for the media professionals. Shu Ran, who also happens to be watching the humiliating sight with Yu Cheng, says there's no point in wasting time there, convinced that no one will come now, only to see Sun Yi and Xiaoruok Shui arrive. She grows frustrated looking at these ladies. After all, the Xia family is trying to shut down the Tianzheng group, but one of their own is there at the opening ceremony. This quickly catches the press's attention, as they move on from manipulating the headlines to capturing the beautiful women on their cameras. Meanwhile, Yi informs her flatmate that since the Huamei group was taken over by the Xia family, She came there at the risk of being fired. He doesn't know what to say in response, because there's no point in these ladies coming here. At best, they will just become the center of attention. Nevertheless, it's very heartfelt, which is good. After this, the girls decide to go stand in the back, and that's also when Master Rudder, or rather Duo Ye, the person in charge of the Royal Club, arrives at the scene to show his support. He's considered to be the #1 person in Jiangcheng, and his arrival raises questions among the press about whether it will change anything. Shen Haihua is left speechless by Duo Ye's sudden arrival, and it is mind-boggling for him to think about how the Grandmaster achieved that. Even the girls find it interesting to see the leaders of the 4 clans in Jiangcheng bow before Chen. The old man with the hunchback congratulates his master and expresses his belief in his ability to make the business thrive. Meanwhile, Shuran presumes that their friendly relationship must have been built during the Royal Club incident. Soon after, Jiangcheng officials #1 and #2 arrive at the event, making it look even more thrilling. Following their arrival, Luo Zhenguo of the Huaxia Force arrives in a Southwest Field Force vehicle. Just when the surprise arrivals seem to be over, a luxury car stops at the entrance, and stepping out of it is Ruok Shui's mother, the head of the Xia family. She looks unhappy that the other families and guests didn't respect her decision and came here. Xia inquires about who is attending the event, and her bodyguard Jun, after promptly receiving a report, reveals that so far the people present at the event seem to be Duo Ye of the Royal Club. Jiangcheng officials know 1 and no 2, and Luo Zhenguo, backed by the military. Furthermore, he talks about the rumors that behind Duo Ye is the king of Jiangnan, and behind Luo Zhenguo is the commander-in-chief of the military region, Officer Bai Li Bing. Though, he doesn't know if these people came there of their own free will, or if it was the intention of the people backing them. She speaks on the involvement of the king and Officer Bing, saying she knows them well and that they couldn't possibly care about a small company in Jiangcheng. Moreover, she thinks Chen and Haihua are not qualified to get involved with them. However, she acknowledges the Tianzheng group's ability to sway Ye and Zhengguo, and her own naivety in underestimating Chen. Nevertheless, those figures dared to disobey the Xia family, so the least she can do is punish Jiangcheng officials. 1 and no 2. They are the ones she can touch and kick out. She instructs Jun to grab their gift and give it to the Tianzheng group. Coming face to face with Chen, she acknowledges him as a genius and adds that she initially wanted to send a basket of flowers, but the flower shop was sold out. She still had to give him a gift, so she chose something that is most precious to her, the Sankai Tongzi, a statue that is considered taboo to give during a business opening ceremony. Ruoxu and Yi can't believe that the Xia family is giving something as outrageous as a gift. The former's mother hits back at her for siding with an outsider. She also tells Yi that she doesn't have to come to the office tomorrow, as she is being removed from her position as director. Ai replies that she doesn't care about her job anymore, because who would want to work in a company where relationships are broken? Her response annoys Ruoxu's mother, and she reacts by ordering her bodyguard to teach her a lesson. Expectedly, Chen steps in and stops Jun, warning him that if he dares to touch his woman, he will bear the consequences. Zhou Fulu, Chief Zhengdi's son, cuts in, admitting that the Shi family is indeed strong, and sarcastically adds that maybe they can cover the sky with one hand. Like every other prominent figure who has arrived, his sudden appearance once again shocks the Xia family. Ruoxu grows curious about how Chen knows Zhou Fulu, yet he didn't even know the military official's name, and the last time they met, they were almost involved in a fight. The military official approaches him and congratulates him on the opening of the Tianzheng group. When he notices the Sankai Tongzi statue in Jun's hands, he immediately swings his arm and pushes it, shattering it into pieces. Ruoxu's mother doesn't take this nicely. Looking furious, she questions whether he did it of his own accord or if the Zhou family decided to go against the Xia family. Right then, the chief arrives and reminds her that his son is a part of the Zhou family, meaning his decision is the Zhou family's wish. Old man Zhengda's arrival completely shuts her down, and she can't think of going against him. The chief then calls Chen his friend and warns her that if the Xia family dares to make things difficult for him, his family won't sit still and do nothing about it. Though her husband is the one most likely to cause trouble, the old man doesn't think he has the guts to do it. Deep down, she fears offending the Zhou family. Otherwise, she doesn't care about the Jiangcheng Municipal Committee, Duo Ye, or Luo Zhenguo. The Xia family, being primarily a business family, could not possibly compete with the Zhou family, which has always been superior because it held great power. Finding her situation unbearably annoying, she decides to leave. After this, Chen thanks the chief for the help, but the old man says that he's still indebted to him for bringing him back from death. Meanwhile, Chu Shuran feels extremely humiliated seeing her nemesis being supported by the Zhou family. She feels that she's no longer in a position where she can mess with him. Since she's worried about her family, Yu Cheng tries to stop her from leaving, which prompts her to kick him in the butt and throw him out of her company as well. Just when he thinks it's all over for him, he finds his old friend and former business partner, Shen Haihua, standing a few yards away from him. This makes him think that there's still some hope for him, so he rushes over to apologize and cries buckets. He tries to justify his actions by blaming it all on the Chu family, but Haihua kicks him in the butt just like Shu Ran did, making Chen and the people close to him laugh.